Meet Julian Kryart Placen. He might just be from a side branch of a fancy noble family, but do not let that fool you. In high school, literally every girl was obsessed with him despite his lower status. Seriously, he was the ultimate heartthrob until everything changed. Now, he's an absolute menace on the battlefield. The whole world shakes at the mere mention of Julian of the Hidden Eyes. Dude is a total prodigy with both blades and spells. We are talking about casually slaughtering hundreds of monsters without dropping his smirk. His magic skills are literally top tier. But get a load of this crazy twist. He can literally read your vibes, seeing fear or rage as glowing auras. Even his own blood relatives are totally spooked by his insane power. His relatives are secretly scheming to permanently cancel him. Why? Because as a lowly side branch member, his overpowered stats mean he could easily steal the family throne whenever he wants. Honestly, the original Julian was absolutely toxic enough to pull it off. But here is the massive secret. That original villain is already pushing up daisies. The dude currently piloting this overpowered body is completely fake, a total reincarnator. Enter Lee Sei, an ordinary, modern guy who hardcore gamed a fantasy world where this exact villain, Julian, brutally ends the main character. Lee absolutely despised this toxic antagonist, yet some higher power literally shoved his soul straight into Julian's body for a redo. The huge problem? He inherited the legendary looks, but basically zero actual combat stats. To avoid getting exposed as a total fraud, he has to fake it till he makes it. Surviving means he has to act just as ruthless and unhinged as the original Psycho. During his gig, supervising a magic exam, some random poor kid accidentally crashes right into him. The old villain would have literally deleted that student on the spot. Checking the room, everyone is glowing purple, which means they are absolutely terrified. Suddenly, Professor Eileen Donasia steps up to intervene. Surprisingly, she is the only person lacking that panicked purple glow. She used to be a total gifted kid and quickly snagged a teaching gig. Our fake Julian knows she definitely hates his guts from their school days. Out of nowhere, her own scared purple glow sparks up, trying to convince his old classmate that he is still that same monster. He roasts her using brutally polite sarcasm. It totally works. Her fear aura spikes, and she instantly blushes bright crimson from the sheer emotion. Honestly though, the fake Julian felt super bad about it. He is literally just serving dark and edgy vibes to stay alive. Taking it further, he aggressively demands a deadly duel to punish the mistake. He totally thought she would cry and apologize so he could generously forgive her, but she instantly matches his energy. Powering up her magic, she steps up. If he wants to threaten a kid, he has to go through her dead body first. Her face is an absolute mess of intense feelings. He anticipated pure hatred, but her reaction is completely wild and unexpected. Considering he is basically a weakling now, he is actually doomed. As she screams for the kids to bolt, our guy mimics the legendary villain. He launches a surprise attack, completely smashing her protective shield into tiny pieces. She is totally frozen in shock. Casters usually suck at melee combat, but something feels super suspicious. Why is she blushing so hard? Plus, his strike felt incredibly weak. Sure, she was scared out of her mind, but all those deeply buried romantic feelings just completely overwhelmed her. Back in the day, she absolutely idolized him. Forget his lower rank, the guy was flawless. Literally every girl swooned, including her. Her crush lasted forever because he literally had it all: insane looks, top-tier elegance, and unmatched skills. When she finally poured her heart out, he ruthlessly rejected her. That supposed anger he sensed? Just the lingering sting of getting friend-zoned hard. Catching on that, her negative vibes were totally gone. Our fake villain zips in and fakes a fatal strike. Instead of attacking, he gives her a soft head pat, softly announcing the fight is done. Normally, these matches end with someone in a body bag. Dropping the scariest plot twist ever, he smoothly purrs that he would never dream of hurting someone as gorgeous as Lady Eileen. He then casually asks her for directions to the testing center. The poor girl absolutely short-circuits. Why is he suddenly serving those sweet high school crush vibes again? Did he just forget his whole psychotic, bloodthirsty phase? Strolling along, our guy stresses over a comment she made. She mentioned Julian's iconic ultimate move, infusing his weapon with raw magic. His blade used to shine with this insane blue energy, like he was literally wielding glowing moonbeams. The original guy used that exact glowing edge to absolutely obliterate armies of monsters. Fans and haters alike dubbed it the Moonlight Sword. Since it is his trademark weapon, our imposter is going to struggle faking it. Eileen already picking up on his weirdly altered combat style is a massive red flag. So, our fake villain realizes he urgently needs to trick her into dropping any suspicions. Glancing back at the two students trailing them, he coldly asks if there is a problem. They panic, shake their heads, and nervously keep walking. Finally, the awkward trio touches down at the practice grounds. Pushing the door open with a smirk, Julian strolled in and blamed his tardiness on Eileen. He dropped a slick intro, casually dropping that he was running today's tryouts, even though he totally knew his reputation preceded him. Heron scanned the room, locking his gaze straight onto the Torso clan's middle child. Their family was super tight with the Kryarts. Scoring a spot with the shut eyes was ultimate elite status, making this a crazy competitive gig. Usually, you had to physically brawl with a teacher to get in. If Julian actually tanked the Torso kid's tryout, the Boomer Council would totally cancel him. Heron was convinced this was where our villain's lucky streak died. Staring down the rookies, Julian asked if they were truly ready for the shut-eyes. The squad nervously mumbled yes. The silver-haired dude just scoffed, calling them a bunch of pathetic losers. He totally roasted their soft, privileged glares and laughed straight in their faces over their basic weapons. This squad was literally the most brutal guild in the kingdom. As the veteran, Julian promised them a deadly sneak peek. Boom, the test starts now. The only way to pass? Take out Julian Kryart for good. Massive panic swept through the room as the rookies freaked out over his psycho demand. Julian gripped his blade, looking like an absolute boss, hiding the fact he was sweating buckets. He prayed his bluff was working. Heron stepped up, warning him not to hold back just because it was a beginner's test. He barely dodged Eileen earlier, but this time he couldn't just run away from a legit boss fight. Everyone was about to find out he was actually super weak. Plus, since his iconic Moonlight Sword was basically useless right now, they'd assume he was a total fraud or that the amnesia rumors were legit. The stress had him literally paralyzed, making things way worse. If he looked even slightly sketchy, a specific angry girl would totally jump him. Eileen was hardcore glaring at him. Clenching his hilt, our guy scrambled for a loophole. The ultimate play? Talk trash and double down. Smirking, he declared the test only ends with his death or their surrender. But the applicants were absolutely petrified, completely frozen in place. Julian held his ground like an absolute stone wall. Out of nowhere, a shaky hand shot up. Looking like he'd seen a ghost, one kid begged to tap out. A chain reaction hit as more hands flew up. The Torso heir just glared at the dropouts in pure disgust. Hating every second of it, the rich kid swallowed his pride and surrendered with the rest of them. The proctors were totally speechless. The entire rookie class was literally rage-quitting. Covering his smirk, Julian let out a massive villain laugh while his fancy cape caught the breeze. With the whole room chickening out, the test was officially scrapped. His big brain strat worked flawlessly. Faking a psycho persona had totally saved his neck. He peeked over at Eileen, dreading that this toxic stunt just made her hate him even more. Shockingly, she didn't look mad at all. Zero bad vibes. He legit thought his emotional radar was glitching out. Actually, this just gave her major nostalgia for the old Julian Sunbay, who used to skip fights by simply scaring people off. A little while after that insane drama, back at base camp, Heron tracked down the silver-haired guy to hype up his performance. Julian wasn't exactly feeling the love. He grabbed Heron's shoulders, making the poor dude jump out of his skin. Super relieved to confirm his fear radar wasn't broken after all, Julian tossed all the credit back to Heron. But then, some random guy crashed their chat, totally fangirling over Julian's stunt. The admin guy, Lazarth, introduced himself like he was meeting a celebrity. After pulling off that insane flex, the amnesia rumors were basically dead. He cleared the exam with zero fighting, but the fanboying was already getting super annoying. Lazarth kept yapping about how crazy it was that Julian bullied the Torso VIP into quitting. That specific comment totally triggered Heron. Furious, he got right in Lazarth's face, snapping at him for trash-talking the kid who failed the vibe check. Given the major beef between the Torso and Kryart clans, dropping remarks like that is totally out of line. Julian smoothly points out that either Heron or the Torso crew is brewing up some massive confusion, especially since the Shut-Eyes are strictly an imperial faction that bans full-fledged royals. Only regular folks and ruined elites make the cut. When pressed about his own royal status, Julian just smirks, admitting he's basically the family's unwanted sidekick, a literal lapdog for the higher-ups. That Torso kid actually signed up for the trials, totally aware he'd get wrecked in round 2. Maybe his folks just wanted him to learn the hard way, or there's a deeper plot brewing. Definitely some sketchy vibes around these entrance exams. Hearing that, Heron literally starts shaking. Gripping his hands tight, he panics, thinking his cover is totally blown, but the silver-haired dude quickly plays it off, joking, probably no biggie, just a huge mix-up. Heron is still visibly sweating bullets over getting exposed, so Julian casually drops that, if it isn't a mistake, things are gonna get super messy. Later, Julian finally hits his castle base. The staff give him formal bows, while he just cruises down the hallway with a chill grin. When asked about grabbing dinner, he hard passes. He tells the maid to keep absolutely everyone out of his workspace. She nods, clearly a bit terrified of her boss. Shutting the door to his room, Julian finally gets a breather. Tossing his blade onto the desk, he sinks right into a plush chair, totally exhausted from the crazy day. Catching Heron's freakout earlier proved one thing: there's zero doubt some toxic drama is going down at the trials. Seriously, he dodged a massive bullet today. How long until his luck runs dry? If the council catches onto his faking, he's getting kicked out forever. Then, his eyes lock onto his weapon. Exposing his total lack of skill with the Moonlight Sword earlier is really eating at him. Mastering that legendary blade means holding ultimate flex power over everyone else. So, he grabs the hilt to give it another shot. Maybe grinding out some practice will finally trigger its hidden buffs. A sick neon blue glow surrounds the metal as he slides it out of the scabbard. Unsheathing it completely, he checks it out, gripping it tight. Unsurprisingly, the magic moon effect doesn't just auto-equip. His natural talent makes him basically a god at melee. One touch of a weapon, and he instantly visualizes the perfect swing. He was born with this hack, letting him wield literally any blade like an absolute pro. Sadly, that's not gonna cut it right now. The Empire is packed with tryhards who match his physical combat skills. The real game changer is different. It's the insane gap in raw aura and magical energy output. That's the only reason he hasn't been flatlined yet. Despite his obsessive thoughts about leveling up this new body, Julian grips his gear. Messing with mana is incredibly risky. One bad backfire, and his insides are toast. Just thinking about exploding makes him sweat. But he can't afford to panic right now. Eventually, he's got to step up and show his worth. If magic here runs like the video game, Lee's thousands of hours of grinding will easily carry him through this mess. He just has to push the power from his chest straight into the meridian, his body's core magic engine. Out of those 38 spots, 6 major pathways run to the brain. That's the main link between pure energy and his heart. He definitely needs to jumpstart that zone. Julian's crimson eyes snap open as his energy starts spiking, feeling pretty hyped about his progress. He rests a hand on his hip. Next phase. Shifting that internal magic to the outside. The pushback is way stronger than expected, but his gamer instincts are solid enough to break through. Suddenly, the metal actually lights up with that legendary lunar vibe, though it dies out fast. It hit the blade, but it was super weak, like a tiny sliver of moon. Still, huge win for the first try. He officially unlocked the absolute lowest level of the skill. Fast forward a bit, and our main guy is hitting the practice yard, totally surrounded by target dummies. Locking in, he readies an attack. He grips the scabbard tight with his offhand and yanks the weapon free. Moving like literal lightning, Julian speed blitzes a dummy, obliterating it instantly. Wood chunks explode everywhere behind his crazy combo. Exhaling, he realizes his stats are finally on par with an official knight. The real goal is mastering that magic sword, but his video game cheats are drying up fast. He desperately needs a reliable buddy to drop some hints. Just then, a servant walks up, trying to grab her boss's attention. She announces a visitor for the young heir. It felt like the exact break he needed, except the guest was a total nobody. Just Lazarth. All the hype instantly drains from the silver-haired teen's features. Laz, meanwhile, is absolutely stoked that Julian even knows who he is. Honestly, Lee could never forget a dude who physically cannot stop yapping around Julian. Honestly, doing that takes either major guts or 0 brain cells. Skipping the pointless small talk, the blade wielder demands to know why he showed up. The guy claims his boss sent him to grab the V Academy test scores. Julian thinks checking is super pointless since the outcome was basically a given. Still, fetching and handing over those grades is standard protocol, even if it feels completely redundant right now. Turning to leave, Julian casually tells him to report a big fat 0 for the passing rate. Wait, scratch that. Julian suddenly has a better idea and stops Lazarth right before he bolts. After double-checking that this intel goes straight to the chief, the swordsman decides he wants to drop the update off in person. Lazarus is totally shook. Grabbing the kid's shoulder, Julian casually suggests they just share his personal ride there. Pure panic flashes across the guy's face as he stammers out, wondering if he screwed something up. The silver-haired dude quickly denies it, trying to chill him out. Truthfully, our main guy just wanted to be nice and save him a solo trip. Too bad. Julian's street cred is basically toxic. With how things are panning out, Julian considers hitting up that guy for some solid pointers. The leader of the Shut-Eyes definitely has a read on him. Plus, with them in the mix, the Kryart clan couldn't pull any shady stunts anyway. Miles away, inside some crazy gorgeous, gold-dripping fortress, a uniformed guard starts yelling about an incoming crisis. Stammering hard, he warns his boss that a certain someone showed up in the flesh. The actual Julian Kryart Placen decided to drop by. Keeping his cool, the leader just echoes the wild update back to him. He kept this totally cryptic look, hiding who knows what. Meanwhile, the Adrathan Empire's royal crib is drop-dead gorgeous. Our hero literally never dreamed he'd be staring right at it. Rosenda, the massive continent where this whole game takes place, is ruled by 3 superpower countries. Led by the insanely strong Adrathan Empire, Julian's current home base. Once that demonic threat Barbados got locked away, those wrecked territories banded together into an absolute juggernaut of a kingdom, flexing their wealth through this jaw-dropping citadel. Deep down, Lee is completely geeking out over it. Yet outwardly, Julian keeps up his signature icy glare. Lazarus is low-key panicking over the swordsman's random, quiet giggles. But as he mulls things over, a weird detail totally snags his focus. Usually, getting to the legendary Julian means going through his staff, yet here he is, delivering messages himself while dragging a totally random commoner along for the ride. The locals around them are definitely side-eyeing this too. Someone mutters to a buddy about how the young noble was supposedly hurt, yet he looks perfectly healthy right now. The crowd starts assuming all that gossip about him having amnesia is pure fiction. Poor Lazarus knows hanging out here is a massive flex, but his anxiety has him feeling like he might actually pass out. Looking super impressed, Julian notes how epic the spot still looks. He mentions they are at the public entrance, and the boss is probably chilling past door number 2. Lazarth finds his awe super weird, though. A legit Shut Eyes member should be totally used to seeing this place. A sudden wave of paranoia hits him. Is this entire trip just some twisted pop quiz? The warrior's arrogant smirk basically screams that a clueless rookie like him is due for another brutal evaluation. While Lazarus is busy spiraling into an absolute panic attack, Julian is just happily fanboying over graphics he used to stare at through a monitor. Catching the kid's stressed-out vibe, he pauses to ask if he's doing okay. Lazarus swears he's chilling. Honestly, that fortress packs so much heavy bling that you can literally see it glowing from miles away. Getting closer to their stop, the stressed-out guy finally blurts out, asking if he scored a passing grade. Looking totally lost, Julian questions what he means and shuts down the quiz theory, pointing out that evaluating him would be a complete waste of time. Hyped beyond belief, the kid takes that as absolute proof he's already officially earned his spot with the Shut Eyes. He throws Julian massive thanks before bouncing out of there, practically singing to himself because he's so pumped, leaving our hero totally baffled by his weird energy. A guard then walks up, letting Julian know the boss gave the green light to head inside. It is finally time to face the big guy, Captain Odwin Ballader, the one and only heir to the Ballader dynasty. Pure boss energy and raw power earned him the captain spot. He is literally the only one who can keep the entire Shut Eyes crew in check. They answer exclusively to the royal bloodline and absolutely no one else. Lee totally stresses out just imagining the insane aura this guy must give off in person. Knocking on a super fancy door, he waits for the go-ahead. A voice lets him in, but the person chilling in the boss seat totally shatters his expectations. Looking completely chill, Odwin Ballader greets Julian and checks if the rumors about him getting hurt are actually true. His brain is totally short-circuiting over the fact that his fearsome boss is basically a little kid. Julian fights hard to keep his cool, though her tiny height completely throws him for a loop. Sure, Lee remembered the leader being pretty short, but he definitely forgot she looked straight out of high school. Out of nowhere, she points a tiny finger right at him, annoyedly snapping if he was about to call her short again. Stuttering through a quick denial, he instantly realizes her terrifyingly charismatic reputation is 100% real. She brushes it off and demands the rundown on his recent battle wounds. Hiding his hands behind his back, Julian totally panics about what to say, second-guessing every single word around her. Since he knows the game story perfectly, Lee realizes that one wrong move could make her insanely suspicious of his vibe. The original Julian was totally toxic but weirdly loyal to the squad, meaning he had to fake some major respect for the boss. Dropping into a polite bow, our guy shows his gratitude for her checking up on him. He claims the damage was pretty nasty, but nowhere near enough to shake his dedication to the crown. The room goes dead silent, and Lee immediately starts sweating. Odwin just stares him down, pressing a finger to her mouth. Boom, she smacks the desk, totally killing the quiet vibe. Walking straight up to him, she calls out that his whole energy is super off. Cringing hard, he practically prays for an exit as she interrogates him about this suddenly polite attitude. Shoving her sword handle right into his personal space, she accuses him of acting like a total weirdo. Sweating bullets, Julian can literally feel the dark, heavy vibes radiating off the captain. Her aura screams suspicion. Frantic, Lee tries to figure out how the original guy actually treated his boss back then. Moving on, pure instinct, he boldly snatches the handle of her weapon right back. He commits to fully embracing his inner toxic villain era, instantly ticking her off since she hates people grabbing her gear. Spinning around, she roasts him for basically ghosting headquarters and only ever dropping off paperwork before dipping. So him playing the hard-working perfect employee right now is beyond suspicious. Lee totally assumed the original jerk at least kept things professional with the squad, but clearly that was a massive miscalculation. He covers his tracks by claiming his extended sick leave was the only reason he showed up face-to-face today. Then our boy leans all the way into the original character's unapologetically arrogant and flashy persona. Flashing a super cocky smirk, he claps back, asking if she is seriously trying to micromanage his schedule. She shoots back that rumor had it he was acting crazy post-injury, but clearly his nasty attitude is fully healed. It still low-key trips him out how brutally blunt she is with him. This girl is absolutely on another level. Pivoting to the recent trials, she asks if anyone actually popped off. He flat out tells her nobody did. She basically shrugs it off, figuring a hyped-up student of Hayden Reich would not fanboy over basic skills anyway. Pushing further, she asks if literally anyone was even rookie material, but he completely shuts that down too. Glaring at the paperwork, she sounds insanely annoyed as she asks if he seriously flunked the entire roster. Smiling like an absolute menace, he nods. This gets her super triggered as she yells for an explanation. He just stands there grinning silently. Boiling over, she asks again, jumping up so fast, her hat literally flies off. She snaps that their squad is desperately understaffed and literally any extra body would be a lifesaver. But he claps back that needing backup is not an excuse to just hand out invites to absolute losers. Odwin felt like a few newbies could actually glow up with training, but he thinks babysitting them is a total drag. Truthfully though, the whole tough guy act was just a massive cope so he would not have to duel those kids. Totally over it, she angrily tells him to just get out of her face. Right before bouncing, he mentions he brought a pitch. Digging into his jacket, he drops a crisp white envelope on her desk. Tucked inside is a perfectly detailed list roasting every single thing wrong with their current tryout system. Totally lost, Odwin snatches up the document to check it out. The file claims recruits have zero clue how brutal the shut-eyes actually are, and the captain totally agrees these rookies are walking in blind. Scanning the guy's notes, she spots a wild clause. Once you enter this exam, the organization wipes its hands clean of whatever happens to you. In Hyamin, that seriously feels like a huge red flag warning applicants that Julian is absolutely coming for blood. She asks if she hit the nail on the head, but our main guy just hits her with his classic, cocky chuckle. Lee dodges the question since Julian is practically a top-tier boss here, and rarely messes with the group's messy inner drama like this. The captain finally gets it. That is exactly why he flunked the entire batch. He was just dodging the blowback from leaving them totally wrecked. Our guy nods, throwing in that any surviving rookies would be completely useless anyway, since they work for the Empire. He seriously despises anyone disrespecting the nobles. Rolling her eyes, Odwin mutters that he always gets super defensive over the royals. The captain agrees to run his message up to the higher-ups, though she totally cannot guarantee they will greenlight it. As Julian tries dipping out, she quickly stops him in his tracks. Odwin drops a quick heads up that a royal delivery is dropping by his workspace soon. Flashing a smirk, he tosses back a thank you and walks off, leaving her staring at his back. She dives back into the document, letting those intense words really sink in. Claiming zero liability basically means that literally dropping dead during the test gets completely brushed off as legal. Honestly, that barely changes the core vibe anyway, considering only washed-up elites and regular folks even bother applying. Nobody ever whines about the setup, because bearing the complaints of total nobodies is ridiculously easy. Julian likely exposed this whole mess after figuring out the elders and the torso crew were scheming hardcore during the trials. This document is basically his epic clapback, proving he is fully aware of their shady tactics and absolutely will not tolerate a repeat. It is pure, calculated payback against the old guys. Her deep thoughts get cut short when a guard pops in, asking if she paged him. Tossing him the envelope, she orders him to run it up the chain, which the guy quickly accepts. Up until now, Julian basically had a reputation as the crown's ultimate, hyper-loyal pet. But lately, this obedient monster is growing a massive ego and finally snapping those leashes. That realization seriously creeps Odwin out. She definitely needs to watch his every move before he turns into a massive, unpredictable threat. Meanwhile, our guy finally strolls into his personal space at the main base. Usually, agents never score private rooms since hanging around off duty is not really a thing here. You would honestly expect a solo suite in this massive guild to look totally decked out and insane. Sure enough, his drippy wardrobe is everywhere, mixed in with some seriously cursed, dark academia vibes. Just random, non-work junk that somehow looks way pricier and far more extra than his actual house. Stumbling through the mess, he kicks random clutter everywhere. Turns out the dude is a borderline pack rat. A sudden knock hits the door, and in walks Lazarth, carrying that hyped-up royal mail, beaming like crazy. The kid gently passes the package over. Definitely the exact same drop the boss lady warned him about. Before the newbie dips, Julian randomly tells him to haul a bunch of statues into his ride. Totally shocked, Lazarus double-checks and gets a firm yes. The intern is so incredibly hyped, he literally looks ready to tear up. Thinking this chore means an instant promotion from rookie status, he frantically starts packing up the weird junk. Moving way too fast, the kid grabs a massive trunk, trips over the hoarder mess, and completely wipes out. Miraculously, nothing shatters, so instead of raging, the swordsman just watches with this totally evil grin. But in the rookie's brain, that silent stare is pure terror, and he is already bracing for impact. Trying to break the awkwardness, Julian casually jokes that mopping up a dead intern would just ruin his afternoon. Taking the hint, the kid scrambles to finish. Meanwhile, the silver-haired boss cracks open his new mail to kill time. Just like the original game lore, the wax seal flexing the royal family crest is sitting right on top. The note kicks off by naming the recipient in totally different handwriting, which luckily Julian can actually read. It basically tells him to drag himself back to work the second he heals up, sounding like a totally toxic trap. Honestly though, getting some real-world action to brush up his blade skills sounds awesome. The gig? Fixing a resonance stone. This game's world got flipped upside down by fiends after their Dark Lord Barbados kicked the bucket. His creepy leftover bits, which either hijacked living hosts or took solid shapes, turned into those very fiends. They started hunting people down, and the ultimate weapons against them were called resonance stones. They're a massive flex left behind by old spellcasters who used pure magic. Since Julian has zero magic skills, he'll likely be playing bodyguard for whoever's fixing the rock. Fighting fiends is super sketchy, but passing on this makes no sense. Crushing this quest would totally shut down all the weird gossip floating around about him. He's honestly wondering who he'll be babysitting on this trip. Handling those magic rocks takes serious talent, so he's praying they send an absolute pro. Miles away at the Adrathan Royal Palace, a brunette girl stretched out. That was Eileen, questioning why she's still drowning in paperwork despite officially being a professor. Guess spellcasters just gotta keep flexing their worth forever, especially for these insanely picky royals. Someone patted her shoulder. Her green-haired bestie Diana popped up, wanting to know why she was hanging around the royal court. She joked that Eileen must be swamped since she ghosted everyone lately, dropping a quick invite for tea. The spellcaster totally wanted to go but had to pass because her dissertation was killing her. Diana teased that she was still rocking that exact same nerdy tryhard energy from high school. Then Diana spotted something wild and pointed straight at Julian's ride rolling up. That specific logo belonged to the Kryart family's side branch, proving it was 100% him. Diana spilled some tea, mentioning she heard the guy was literally about to kick the bucket, yet here he is, bouncing back. Flashing a sneaky smirk, she caught her bestie tensing up and straight up asked if she was still crushing on him. She brought up how back in their glory days, Eileen was such a hopeless romantic that she dragged Julian to the school's cherry tree after hearing gossip about guaranteed hookups there. Panicking to switch topics, the scholar quickly backtracked and claimed her schedule magically cleared up for a cafe run. Diana wasn't letting it go, telling her not to cringe since literally every single girl on campus was obsessing over that dude anyway. That got Eileen thinking. Honestly, the guy she remembers is basically a total stranger compared to his current self. He caught that edgy vibe right after surviving the Northern Front and rolling with the shut-eyes. Her friend pushed her to go say hi, but Eileen shut it down, saying an old crush definitely didn't equal current feelings. Plus, she planned to avoid seeing his face for a very long time anyway. Flashing a sealed letter, she announced she'd be ditching the capital for a bit. Diana looked shocked, eyeing the document that totally screamed, top secret royal orders. Eileen had just scored a quest to fix one of those resonance rocks. Pikemen were gearing up for massive chaos. One dude questioned the insane security detail, realizing both the Shut Eyes and the Blue Knights factions were tagging along. This gig was super exclusive, especially since the legendary Julian was in the lineup. The pair gossiped about those completely fake stories claiming the guy had amnesia. The troops literally couldn't picture such an absolute beast ever taking real damage. Hearing this made our boy super glad he took the job, since it was crushing the toxic gossip. Some paladins walked up, showing mad respect for his grind. It was Perrin and Heinleich, representing the Blue Lion Squad. The trio was teaming up to babysit the spellcasters all the way to Julian. Anything could pop off during the trip, including some seriously gnarly fiends showing up. One of the guards questioned why Julian wasn't just chilling in the transport wagon for the ride. Taking the ride meant he could totally zone out and let them handle the scholars. Our guy figured the guards were playing nice, but definitely not just to be sweet. The Blue Knights are legit imperial muscle, and unlike the Shut-Eyes, they're mostly snobby rich kids. They clearly just wanted to block a side branch kid from stealing all their clout. Whatever though, chilling in the wagon sounded way better anyway, so he just went with it. Heinleich was shocked he caved so fast. But the second the paladin promised to yell when Eileen the spellcaster showed up, our boy's eyes completely bugged out. But there was zero time to process that bombshell, because someone was already walking up, flashing a super sweet smile. The scholar introduced herself to the whole crew, spotting the exact person she desperately wanted to avoid. Julian totally panicked, sweating as he begged Parn to completely scrap the whole carriage drama. It totally threw her off seeing her ex show up out of nowhere, especially when the guy literally just turned around and ignored her. Julian felt super awkward around Eileen, completely unable to read her current vibe or figure out her feelings. The guards totally misread the vibe, assuming Julian swapped his carriage plans just to flex his authority on them. They even low-key panicked, convinced he had figured out their secret plot to steal his command by ditching him. Honestly, it made sense for a guy who somehow survived the crazy, toxic royal family drama totally on his own. Still, acting that stuck up and treating the troops like trash just because he had some distant royal blood was a massive red flag. Julian was just freaking out, because literally nobody gave him a heads up that his VIP mage was actually Eileen. She was clearly cringing at the whole vibe too, so he figured he would just speedrun this stupid mission and avoid talking to her completely. Kicking his horse into high gear, he totally zoomed ahead, bringing the squad straight into Julian, this super tiny village. Even though the capital literally dispatched them, the welcome committee was completely ghosting them. Eventually, some teen hauling a bunch of random gear finally spotted their crew, giving them a quick shout-out for surviving the brutal road trip. He led them straight to the magic crystal, while the guards sorted out the setup. Eileen actually grabbed one of the heavy crates herself, totally paranoid, since those crystals were super reactive to magic. But the local dude who just hyped them up asked her to tag along and inspect the busted crystal that needed fixing. It was this massive glowing sapphire chunk, with a super ugly fracture at the bottom. Eileen took one look and declared it completely trashed. Swapping it out meant dropping the shield for a hot minute, but she swore everyone could chill because it would be a super quick fix. Hovering her hand right over the glowing surface, she realized she really needed to give Julian a quick heads up about the shield going down. Staring at his annoying face was literally her absolute nightmare, but she forced herself to act like a total pro. She was an instructor, after all. She walked right up, but the absolute jerk immediately spun around to ignore her again. She kept pushing, calling it super critical, while her brain frantically tried to figure out why he was ghosting her so hard. No matter what his ridiculous problem was, throwing a tantrum during a majorly high-stakes assignment was just completely unacceptable. Yanking his sleeve, she demanded to know why he kept dodging her. Julian just scoffed, claiming he definitely wasn't running away at all. He actually accused her of obsessively trailing him, which instantly made her face flush an absolute tomato red. His smug confidence almost gaslit her into believing it, but Eileen quickly snapped back to reality, shutting down the drama because they had bigger issues. Flashing this super arrogant grin, Julian mocked her, asking what Miss Obsessed fan could possibly need, which absolutely made her blood boil. But a deafening crash suddenly cut the drama short. Vicious monsters were literally storming the village right that second, whipping their heads toward the chaos. Eileen yelled that this was exactly what she was trying to warn him about when the magic shield dropped. Terrified shrieks echoed everywhere as a dangerously familiar shadow started creeping straight toward our guy. It was actually Heinleich stepping right up to his face, but Julian's eyes instantly widened in pure, unadulterated panic. Wicked, jagged spikes suddenly poked out right behind Heinleich. A freaking double-horned beast was literally ambushing the squad. Seeing that top-tier, double-horned nightmare, Eileen tried stepping up, but Julian totally blocked her off, screaming that it was way too risky. The beast just kept shrieking its lungs out, while she literally shook in her boots, scrambling to brainstorm a strategy against that absolute tank. Barking commands in some creepy, twisted monster slang, the beast ordered the rest of the horde to strike. One of the freaks lunged right at Eileen, totally ready to tear her apart. But our guy dashed in out of nowhere, gripping his blade like a lifeline to shield her, yelling at her to stay super focused, always finding a moment to talk trash. He smirked and called her totally pathetic for freezing up over some basic low-level mob. He told her to back off and let the actual muscle handle the front line, saying they needed to just stick to their own lanes. Stuttering like crazy, she asked for the game plan. Pointing straight at her face, he barked that her only job was fixing that crystal while he kept her alive. Dripping with absolute sarcasm, he teased that the mighty professor must have memory loss from pure terror. Scrambling to her station, she snapped back that fixing it would take 7 exact minutes. Right before dipping out, she shouted his name, literally begging him not to get trashed because she had 0 healing skills to save his life. Gripping his weapon tight, the cocky dude yelled back that taking damage from these losers was basically impossible anyway. Deep down though, he was secretly freaking out. Fighting a double-horned boss monster this early on was definitely not on his bingo card. Dipping out wasn't happening with this massive crowd watching him. The gossip would be insane. So, our fake hero frantically tried guessing how the original Julian would play this hand. Heavy, clanking armor completely shatters his focus. The blue lions finally show up as backup. They hit the field and immediately rush this utterly terrifying monster without a second thought. Julian, the lions, and the spearmen are totally locked in and ready to brawl. Playing it safe, one guy suggests slowly chipping away at the boss's health pool. He jokingly asks if the two-horned freak scares Julian, but honestly, being terrified just isn't in his character profile. The troops' faces drop instantly when the silver-haired dude just starts cracking up. Lee realizes that facing literal death, the true Julian would act exactly like this psycho. Wasting 0 time, the beast throws a massive punch at our guy, who is literally having the time of his life, flexing god-tier reflexes. His eyes go wide as he effortlessly sidesteps the strike and lands a sick counterattack. Mind blown, PN realizes that single slash dealt absolutely insane damage. Getting splashed with monster blood, he grins like a total maniac, while his blade sparks with pure moonlight. Sprinting at full speed, he rushes his target and launches himself right into the air. He brings his blade crashing down straight onto one of those nasty horns. Smirking at his direct hit, he suddenly spots that massive red eye. Glaring back, he got way too sloppy, taking a brutal headbutt. Taking the full brunt of that insane impact, he's left totally wrecked and gasping for air. Refusing to stay down, he compares the beast to a squirming bug before burying his blade deep into its bony frame. He absolutely slams back down, carving a literal crater into the dirt. The squad is freaking out, and just as Parn tries stepping up to lead, someone screams to look behind them. Through the dust, his shadow is still standing tall. His weapon is straight up blazing with this intense, shimmering blue aura. Instantly, one of the guards spots what that crazy aura actually is. The legendary Moonlight Sword is finally synced with its master. The entire battlefield is just standing there, jaw dropped at the mythical weapon. It isn't even at 50% power yet, but the boss is already at a massive disadvantage. Dripping with that cool blue energy, he closes in on the creature without skipping a beat. Dead focused and riding a total adrenaline high, he strikes so hard even the creature feels his insane hype. The crazy recoil totally rattles our guy, though. Plus, this lumbering beast actually attacks super fast. Thanks to his broken innate skills, though, he easily reads and predicts every single twitch. In the zone, he flawlessly parries and weaves through all those brutal incoming charges like it's nothing. Those piercing red eyes never leave their target. The troops are stunned, and Parn finally gets why this kid's hype is so real. Off to the side, that magic stone is practically fully charged up. The expert mage finishes the final tweaks, and leaning over the wall, the girl screams that the shield is good to go. Out of nowhere, random debris starts levitating around the boss, totally breaking its focus. Taking full advantage, he mocks the beast for pulling such a rookie move by looking away mid-fight. Closing the gap in a flash, he drops an absolutely crushing strike right on its giant head. Flashing like a literal lightning bolt, he slices straight through the massive target, tearing it apart on the way. This crazy flex leaves Eileen and the guards absolutely speechless. Their nightmare boss just drops to the dirt like a broken toy. The corpse hits the ground with a massive thud, while our guy casually turns his back for that epic victory pose. That brutal boss fight is officially cleared. Wrapping things up, he catches the squad whispering all around him. Feeling kinda hyped, he realizes the crazy grind actually paid off. The whole crew looks equal parts terrified and starstruck. Considering his character is literally the bad guy, totally freaking out the crowd with his raw stats is super on brand. Snapping him out of his inner monologue, somebody calls his name and suddenly grabs both his hands. A random guard gives him super emotional thanks for the carry. Swearing they were all doomed, the guy sparks off a chill mini celebration. PN walks up next, giving massive props for the insanely hard carry. Though the dude is visibly shaking and sweating buckets right now, clapping a hand on the guy's shoulder, he casually passes off the wrap-up duties, since cheesy moments really aren't his vibe. Hin suddenly gets that this kid is just built entirely different from regular nobles. Chilling like that after soloing a boss? Pure monster behavior. Ditching the loud crowd, our guy heads over to a super clear lake and just crashes for a sec to chill. With everything finally chilling out, it hits him just how insanely sketchy that whole mess actually was. The pure terror and panic from fighting that beast flood back into his brain, leaving his hands totally shaking. Honestly, living this out is way scarier. It makes him question how the original Julian just brushed off crazy stuff like this. He was playing the badass role so intensely that he genuinely freaked his own self out. Is his mindset morphing right alongside his physical form? One major thought keeps looping. Exactly how overpowered is the actual Julian? That fresh ability he just snagged? Totally a mashup of Lee's brainpower and Julian's hardcore battle instincts. Now, our dude can easily spot his rival's flaws, dishing out massive bonus hits whenever they start getting scared. Having this power makes wiping out weird vibes or doubts about his identity a breeze. The major catch? His signature moonlight blade is totally unfinished. After checking out his personal weapon, he slides it away gently into its case. You can totally see tons of fresh scuffs all over the metal. Firing that thing up drained serious magic energy. Without being fully upgraded, its raw damage and handling are basically garbage. But thinking about fixing that handling sparks a major lightbulb moment. Catching his reflection with a grin, a genius plan drops. Way out there, banners are flying high in the wind, while creepy dudes in hoods are clearly expecting company. Out of nowhere, this fancy guy pushes open a huge dining room door, stepping right into the grumpy Elder Nobles Club. A cloaked dude tells the new guy to grab a seat. Shaking like crazy, Heron gets grilled about whether Julian busted their scheme and how he reacted. Sounding absolutely terrified and shaking off the charts, Heron admits they are totally busted. Turns out, Julian actually figured out every single sketchy move their group made. Being totally savage, one fancy lord straight up says he knew Han, being a massive loser, would wreck everything. He even throws shade, claiming that without his sweet family connections, that kid would be completely wiped out by now. Some other creepy boss mentions the shut eyes are acting super sus by hitting up the Imperial Secretary, prompting Heron to drop the new rule. Basically, the shut eyes get a free pass for literally whatever chaos goes down during the entry tests, including actual deaths. Hearing that insane detail makes the Lord look super mad, absolutely losing it. Another guy aggressively punches the desk, yelling that they are basically handing Julian a total free win. That tea sends the whole room into a screaming fit of rage, until some random voice claims this is actually a massive W. Hugh Lord Aiden, rubbing his hands together while wearing the most toxic smirk ever. He points out that Julian was just a total lapdog for the royal family before, but if he starts suddenly rebelling and ignoring his leash and deciding to just do his own wild thing instead, it would trigger some seriously crazy domino effects. This could totally let them exploit him way better than that time they banished him to the icy northern border. Another snob asks if Aiden seriously wants to just let the kid run completely wild. Smirking, Aiden drops a casual yes. Meanwhile at home, Julian is just kicking back and recovering from that insane quest. His gorgeous houseplants were thriving, and soaking in his perfectly styled bedroom gave him some much-needed good vibes. It felt like his greenery had this crazy superpower to actually chill out a stressed mess like himself. That last run was chaotic, but luckily all the fake gossip died down. He pops open a massive trunk stuffed with loot. Peeking inside, a bright red gem catches the light. He finally figured out how to max out his moonlight blade with that epic ruby. He got the idea while checking out echo crystals. Back in the video game, literally every item soaked up magic, but the Empire's local gems were top-tier conductors, making echo crystals super OP. So, he decides to steal that exact strategy and pump his item with magic. Basically, it creates a magical bridge, linking the fighter right to the weapon, letting all that raw power flow smoothly. Big yikes though, the second he pokes the crystal, it completely shatters into tiny shards. That epic fail proved Julian really needed to hunt down a much better gem that could actually handle his unique magical vibe. Someone suddenly knocks. Figuring it is dinner time, Julian yells out to see if it is his butler, letting the always loyal Lazarus step inside, totally ready to work. Turns out, the boss wants him to hit up the Imperial Secretary and spill exactly what went down face to face. Super caught off guard, our guy asks him to repeat it to ensure he heard right. He instantly jumps up from his seat, getting ready to head out, and tells his awesome assistant to toss the crystals back into storage. Getting called up to the secretary's office was definitely sparking his curiosity. Right before our guy bounced, Lazarth hollered, holding up those red crystal pieces to ask what their next move was. Toss them, Julian ordered. His sidekick thought ditching those pretty gems was a massive waste, but he followed through anyway. Julian finally hit the Imperial Secretary's spot, which was seriously fancy compared to the messy shy building. He dropped his name at the front desk, mentioning he had a meetup scheduled with Mr. Sedan Orby. The receptionist mentioned Orby was tied up in a meeting, so Julian totally agreed to just chill out and wait. Whoever snagged that earlier appointment had to be a way bigger VIP than him. He stepped into the gorgeous waiting lounge, an exclusive area he never managed to unlock back in the actual game. Out of nowhere, a random sword in the corner caught his eye. Totally weird to just leave a weapon lying around. Plus, the blade totally clashed with a fancy vibe. It looked basic, but definitely belonged to an absolute pro. Carved right into the scabbard was the quote, "A tough body builds a tough mind," giving our guy major déjà vu. Suddenly, a super harsh voice barked at him to drop the weapon immediately. He knew that tone instantly, not even needing a backward glance to recognize the aristocratic Lady Ronbell. She came from an elite knight bloodline and was literally one of Hayden Reich's top students, the exact same girl who got brutally killed off in the original game by the notorious Julian Kryart Placen himself. Flashbacks of her tragic in-game death hit him hard. Yet here she was, standing right in front of him alive. Being Hayden's student made her crucial for his escape plan. Ren is crazy loyal, packing enough potential to completely outshine Julian. Fans totally obsessed over her fierce loyalty to her master. Because of that hardcore devotion, the devs actually gave her an exclusive wedding dress skin, easily securing her spot as a top-tier fan favorite. But since our guy is currently stuck playing the villain Julian, she is giving him nothing but absolute, toxic hatred. When she snapped about why he was touching her gear, he casually shrugged, claiming he was merely window shopping. Totally poking the bear, he teased her for just abandoning her beloved master's weapon like it was literal trash. She instantly clapped back that Hayden just absolutely hates carrying weapons. Catching that name drop, he smoothly asked if Hayden was the VIP inside. Immediately defensive, she demanded why he cared. Playing it cool, Julian admitted he was simply curious, considering Hayden used to be his old mentor back in the day. Literally shaking with rage, Rena gripped her hilt tight, furiously screaming about how he even dared to bring that up. Knowing he totally started it, Julian tried backtracking to cool things down, but the door suddenly clicking open interrupted them. An official called Ren inside. Spinning around, she shot him an icy glare, praying she'd never cross paths with him again. But plot twist, the messenger revealed Julian was requested too, making the whole vibe insanely awkward and tense. Trying to fix the vibe, he played it totally cool, joking that they should totally vibe together since they shared the exact same mentor. Remaining freezing cold, she snapped that those days were dead, warning him to keep her master's name out of his mouth. He was literally about to meet his ultimate favorite game character while wearing the skin of his betrayer. Talk about nerve-wracking. Shortly after, the dramatic duo stepped inside the main office, getting welcomed by a pretty sharp-looking dude, instantly hyping our guy up for wiping out that massive two-horned demon. Completely over it, Rena harshly interrupted, demanding to know where her mentor went. Turns out, Reich ghosted right after setting up a co-op quest for them. Shocked, the blonde shrieked about partnering with a traitor. Her mentor requested backup from the Empire since the quest was crazy dangerous, and Julian just conveniently happened to be available. The goal was simply investigating the gritty capital slums. Our guy immediately questioned why they had to drag themselves through such a trashy neighborhood. Word on the street claimed monsters were popping up there, but the locals absolutely despised direct royal interference. That made it the ultimate gig for these two, since they worked for the crown without technically being full-blown royals. Those streets were packed with rejected immigrants from other nations, meaning they harbored serious beef with the ruling family. Dropping in neutral operatives like them was honestly the smartest tactical move. Outperforming him meant Ren could easily secure the Holy Swordmaster title. It was a trashy setup, but as their loyal lapdog, he couldn't refuse. Annoyed, she completely shuts him down, which is honestly exactly what our guy wishes he could do. Still, he points out her mentor handed her this assignment, and crossing him would cause major drama. Following a super awkward pause, she finally caves and agrees. Watching her completely stress out over it, he figures that as Hayden's star pupil, she's definitely going to try bossing him around on this entire trip. Right now, he's way too weak to fight back. He desperately needs a gem that actually vibes with his magic. That necklace she's wearing instantly grabs his eye. Completely dying of curiosity, he asks her about the rock. She casually mentions it's a moonstone. It practically glows with the exact crazy energy he's been dying to find. Reaching toward the pendant, Julian literally feels the crazy magnetic pull of its aura. The blonde snatches it back furiously, while he insists he was merely looking. Still, that split second was enough to feel it perfectly sync with his magic. What he desperately needed was literally right there, totally hyper-focused. He hits up a local jewelry shop looking for a duplicate and asks the clerk for moonstones. Turns out they are ridiculously rare. Unless you're a hardcore collector, no regular shop carries them. Julian looks insanely ticked off, completely freaking the clerk out. The poor guy stammers, offering to try tracking one down. Relaxing a bit, Julian stresses how badly he needs it, prompting the terrified merchant to promise a nationwide hunt. Fast forward to mission day, still no gem. Now he's totally freaking out that Rena might realize his weapon is basically broken. She struts off first, but he quickly points out she's heading the wrong way. She responds with a complete death glare. The shady district is a total maze of random shacks, so trusting street signs or maps is a massive rookie mistake. Waving her map around, she snarks that she trusts paper way more than him, and honestly, he completely gets it. Still, the east side is pure chaos for newbies. Literally everyone, even the original devs, admitted it was a total nightmare. Being super stubborn, she refuses to buy into his tricks, totally paranoid that this supposed traitor wants to ruin the holy swordsman's protege. Sounding completely dead serious, she flexes that she's absolutely nothing like him. She's 100% destined to be the next legendary master. Sweating a bit, our guy knows she's totally delusional because this upcoming job is going to be absolutely brutal. They keep endlessly bickering over directions. Squinting at him, Rena demands to know if he's even set foot in this dump before. His past self definitely had, but blowing his cover was absolutely out of the question. She pushes back. If he's a total newbie, how does he know the route? With a cheeky grin, he credits his stellar gut feeling. Completely over it, the blonde suggests just splitting up, but he casually drops a reality check. The royals specifically ordered them to stick together, unless, of course, she seriously thinks her precious master somehow outranks the actual government. Absolutely triggered, she threatens him to keep her mentor's name out of his mouth. She's literally shaking with sheer rage. Secretly, she knows he outclasses her, especially given all the gossip comparing them. One toxic thought keeps playing on loop. He would have crushed this already, but she stubbornly clings to her fantasy of becoming the ultimate heir. Snapping back to reality, she suddenly spots a massive red flag. The street markers are absolute gibberish. Knowing exactly what's up, he smirks and plays totally dumb, asking what's wrong. It's incredibly obvious she's hopelessly lost. Her paper map totally contradicts the actual street signs and looks like complete garbage. Basically, they just keep walking in endless loops, constantly winding up right back at square one. Some scarred dude hollers at them, checking if they're completely stranded. But Ben isn't running a charity. He wants her to buy his booze as payment, recognizing her incredibly loaded last name. The sketchy guy figures he just scored a massive free ride. Julian tries saying hi, but Ben ignores him. Thinking about it, our guy feels like he's definitely heard the dude's name somewhere, but since it doesn't click right away, he figures the guy is just some irrelevant side character. Before showing them the ropes, Ben demands the bartender hook them all up with rounds. Polishing a cup, the barkeep fishes for where they're from, clearly plotting to scam them on the price. Hearing their answer, the guy slaps them with a 30 nars fee per cup. Smirking, he smugly claims the hood is just super pricey, but whipping out her cash, the girl completely brushes it off. Honestly, she thinks it's an absolute bargain. The dude's eyes literally light up seeing all that flashing gold. Absolute classic rich kid flex. Yanking the bartender aside, the creep orders a spiked round, fully intending to empty their pockets once they pass out. The guy behind the counter doesn't even hesitate, mixing up the dirty order perfectly. 3 massive pints hit the table. The blonde goes straight for a sip, but Julian blocks her just in time, staring dead into the glass. He doesn't miss a beat. With a chilling glare, he straight up asks the guy what kind of trash he slipped in there. Ben totally panics, stuttering about what the heck he means. Calling his bluff, our guy shoves the pint in his face, daring him to take a gulp. Unless, of course, he wants it forced down his throat. Renee rolls her eyes, snapping at her partner to quit acting crazy. But the second she drops his name, a light bulb goes off in Ben's head. Sweating bullets, the pub owner stammers, wondering how the heck this dude dragged the royal family's personal guard dog into his dive. Completely freaking out, Ben tries playing it cool, bragging about his loyal goons lurking nearby, the absolute worst tough guys in the neighborhood, who are definitely already glaring their way. Even Ben reaches into his jacket, flashing a blade handle, to prove he isn't afraid to throw down. Totally done with this nonsense, Julian calls timeout, shifting into a combat stance. The second our hero twitches, the goons rush him, but Julian is insanely fast, instantly snatching one dude right by the collar. Another punk sneaks up from the back with a weapon, only to whiff completely when Julian easily dodges the cheap shot. The lackeys hit the floor one after another, completely clueless about what just hit them. Rena flashes her own blade too. Seeing that, the remaining thugs totally freeze up, completely losing their nerve. Standing tall, our guy tells them whatever their game is, they better stop stirring up drama in this neighborhood right now. Julian's blade hovers inches from the scammer's throat. Looking at the sketchy crowd backing away, it's super obvious they're all his crew. Because of that little detail, he orders Ben to call off his squad instantly. Otherwise, things are gonna get ugly, and someone's gonna shatter just like that pint glass. Ben shakes like a leaf, flashing a totally bad news purple energy. His crew tries to step up, but he screams in absolute panic for them to scatter. Scared out of their minds, the two punks bolt from the pub. Julian drops a deal. If the guy spills the tea on a few things, he promises him a safe trip to the lockup. Handing himself over is way better than the alternative. But hey, the ball is entirely in Ben's court. Our hero gives him the final ultimatum. Game over or give up. Totally cornered, Ben waves the white flag. Julian knew this dude was sketchy from the jump, but finding out he was actually mobbed up was a legit plot twist. Hey, at least they scored some solid intel. Rena, though, is totally bummed out, beating herself up for dragging them into this mess. Julian catches on to the fact that her usual swagger has totally vanished. She finally speaks up, asking how the heck he figured out those drinks were spiked. Playing it cool, he smirks and asks if she's actually ready for the secret. The blonde admits she'd rather swallow her pride and learn from her worst enemy honestly. Pretty mature of her. Though, yeah, it would definitely be chill if she didn't resent his guts so much. Julian breaks it down. His magic radar picked up totally toxic vibes, coming from both the glass and the room itself. Anticipating trouble, he flared his aura before even stepping inside to scan the crowd for red flags. It basically works like bad echolocation. Usually, only wizards pull this off, but with his massive magic tank, it's a piece of cake. Still not totally convinced, the blonde throws another question his way. Why grill Ben about everyday neighborhood life, instead of just demanding to know where the target was hiding? Renee is super confused, arguing their job is handling monsters, not interviewing locals. But Julian nods, asking if she knows anything about the corruption process. She answers that the whole mess started when Barbados's leftovers infected every animal on Earth except people, turning them into literal nightmares. But here is the thing, thanks to those special warding rocks around the block, 0 outside creatures can actually sneak in, which means the only remaining targets are the people. Just like his game knowledge told him, human possession is totally going down here. Rena, though, thinks that sounds like absolute sci-fi garbage. He doesn't back down, pointing out that 3 households grabbed fever meds last week, literally step 1 of turning evil. She is still giving him major side-eye about it. Meanwhile, the sun finally dips below the horizon. Our girl's totally hyped now, pointing out they've only got 1 single spot left to search. She's thrilled because 0 signs of monsters so far is a massive win, meaning they are practically done with this gig. Julian taps on the front door calling out, and this super creepy dude with glowing red eyes answers. Red eyes aren't exactly proof he's a monster, but his crazy defensive vibes scream he's covering something up. Plus, Julian instantly recognizes that gross, bitter scent of monster blood from his last major quest. Playing it cool, our boy says hello, but the second this guy hears they work for the Shut-Eyes Guild, the dude completely snaps, screaming at them to get lost, though Julian casually blocks the door with his foot. With one quick push, he shoves the old guy backward and completely barges into the place. Totally shocked, his partner snaps that he seriously could have explained himself before going full home invader. But honestly, Julian thinks she is way too innocent, and playing nice is going to get her killed someday. Standing in the living room, the blonde is sweating bullets since they literally do not have a warrant for this. Our main guy couldn't care less. The higher-ups only care about results, and his intel says this guy only lives with his kid. Yet there are 3 plates on the dining table. Sweating, the host stammers out an excuse about having company over. Snooping around the dinner spread, Julian swirls a spoon through the soup, realizing the texture is weirdly chunky. It hits him immediately this dude spiked the broth with knockout drops for his guest, who is definitely the nightmare trapped in the back room. Seeing his insane detective skills in action leaves his blonde sidekick utterly speechless. Completely panicking, the dad sprints for the back bedroom, screaming for his kid to run while desperately unlocking the heavy padlock. As it swings wide, he begs his boy to escape, but a massive shadowy beast just snatches the screaming dad right up. Surprise, surprise, there was a literal nightmare creature hiding out back there. Rena whips out her blade, horrified, that a person actually turned into this freak. Either way, she knows they have to put it down. She lunges right at the beast's face, but the freakishly fast creature literally just swats her like a fly. Thankfully, she brushes off the hit, but Julian suddenly realizes she is holding the exact weapon Rene used before leveling up. That totally explains her earlier magic questions. This fight is honestly way out of her league right now. Stepping up, he physically blocks her, which seriously annoys the girl who insists she doesn't need a babysitter. Pulling his own blade, he smirks and says it is just business. Plus, letting the legendary champion's favorite pupil die would be super bad for him. The catch: his lunar blade technique is still pretty sketchy, but risking it is way better than blowing his cover. The monster charges at them full speed, and our guy knows it is do or die time. He instantly flips the switch on his brand new power, giving him insane predictive vision to spot critical weak points. A blinding flash nails the monster, letting the swordsman smoothly slide right under its massive legs, like an absolute pro. Dialed in, Julian perfectly sets up a blind spot for Rena to strike, leaving the massive freak completely exposed. She sprints at the target with everything she has got, but the giant beast casually blocks her heavy swings. Julian yells at her to draw aggro, but she is barely surviving the clash, making that request practically impossible. Right then, she spots some random junk nearby that could totally save her life. Snatching up a huge bowl of thick stew, she chucks it straight into the beast's eyes for a quick flashbang effect. Stumbling backward, the creature covers its face, absolutely clueless and blinded by the messy cheap shot. Catching her breath, Rena channels everything she has, hyping herself up to land one massive finisher. But while she is charging up, that massive claw comes out of nowhere and violently slams into her. The freak actually tracked her perfume while she wasn't looking, meaning she totally failed at playing the decoy. Embarrassed, doesn't even cover it. She felt like an absolute letdown to her elite mentor. Just as the beast cranks open its jaw for a lethal bite, Julian screams out her name from the sidelines. She yells back asking what his deal is, but he just flashes a confident grin and calls her work perfect. His eyes flare ruby red as he charges his ultimate move, right while the dizzy monster hoists the girl into the air. Spotting the ultimate opening, our silver-haired hero drives his blade straight through the monstrosity's guts. Instantly, the beast loses its insane strength, finally dropping the girl onto the floor. Bouncing back up, she instantly follows through with a nasty slash of her own, giving them a sick double-team combo against the beast. Julian kept his grip tight on the blade, freezing in place until the beast's massive frame slammed into the dirt. Rena watched in awe. The guy had totally wrecked the fiend without even drawing that signature lunar blade of his. Catching her stunned look, he flashed a cocky smirk. Didn't even need the glow stick for this one, he bragged. He was secretly hyping himself up. That line drop was incredibly smooth, and he knew it. Fast forward a bit, and the duo finally pulled up to the royal castle. Another crazy quest checked off the list. He let out a breath, totally convinced his partner didn't suspect a thing. Out of nowhere, the blonde knight spoke up. She told him to keep all the glory, admitting she'd basically been dead weight. He tried playing nice to deny it, but honestly, she really hadn't lifted a finger against that beast. Shooting him a death glare, she snapped, "I despise you." Julian just laughed. Wow, keeping it super subtle today, aren't we? Her mentor always preached the classic rule: massive strength demands massive accountability. Wrecking the monster was cool, she confessed, but flexing those same skills on regular folks? Exactly why their teacher ditched him. The dude literally had zero chill. Taking her brutal honesty in stride, he grinned back. Holding back is just an excuse for the weak. Triggered, she demanded if he was calling her mentor a wimp. He just shrugged it off, playing the clueless card. Not being some stuck-up royal meant skipping the strict rules. He reminded her that the real world makes people like him. Getting annoyed, the blonde straight up asked what his deal was. Brushing it off, he just dropped a quick thanks for the free points. Rena sighed, totally baffled by his whole vibe, because honestly, keeping yourself in check is basic knight behavior, not just a rich kid thing. Just then, she bumped into her uncle Ergon. He offered her a lift, and she happily jumped in to ride together. He checked in on the quest, asking if it totally drained her. Then, he brought up the sketchy guy she brought along. Recognizing him instantly, Ergon spilled some tea. The Council of Elders was currently freaking out over the kid's latest stunts. Who even disrespects the council like that? Then again, he scoffed. It was classic trash behavior from a side family member. That jab perfectly echoed his earlier rant about never needing to keep himself on a leash. Ergon threw in a warning, begging his niece to ghost the guy entirely. He trashed him as a weak menace, but Rena instantly snapped back, shutting down the insult before he could even finish. Sure, his personality was a massive red flag, but there was no denying the dude's absolute raw power. It killed her to admit it, but he was seriously overpowered. Meanwhile, the flashy gold palace finally popped into sight. Strolling up to Odwin, he was met with a deadly glare. "What on earth did you pull?" the commander hissed. Flashing a cheeky smile, he played dumb. Inside, he was sweating, betting the tavern owner or the street kids snitched on his recent brawls. Getting way too lost in character meant he completely forgot to care about the messy fallout. The boss just stood there, hitting him with the ultimate deadpan stare. She casually dropped a bomb. Ben, a highly wanted mobster, just walked in and surrendered. During the interrogation, the thug started shaking uncontrollably and dropped his name, which was wild, considering his actual job was just hunting down local monsters. He joked that maybe the crook just felt super guilty about being toxic. Odwin wasn't buying that garbage for a second. Knowing he was totally involved, she sighed and tossed over his paycheck. Hyped for the cash, he grabbed the slip immediately. His bank account had basically flatlined earlier this week. Plus, the gem dealer had texted him saying his card declined for that fancy lunar rock. Hoping to secure the bag for his shiny upgrade, he checked the receipt and gasped. Total payout, 11,000 nars. With 1 nar equaling about $1. That was a seriously massive payday. Even factoring in the blonde's extra points, the final stack was insane. Catching his shocked face, Odwin clarified the pay was actually slashed due to his crazy long hiatus. Wait, what? Squinting at the fine print, he spotted massive cuts for guild fees and upkeep, probably from his expensive hobbies. The whole check was basically eaten alive by loan installments. Post-taxes and debt, he was left with $900. The guy was an absolute nightmare with money. That's a massive issue, since our guy needs serious cash for his moonlight rock. So, he hits up his boss to beg for extra gigs. Looking impressed, Odwin asks if he's completely broke. She shoots him down with 0 new jobs, telling him to stop blowing cash on random garbage. Our guy wouldn't be nearly this salty if he'd actually bought that stuff on purpose, but Odwin points out his art stash could literally fund a fortress. Total lightbulb moment, it's the perfect side hustle for quick cash. He just needs to flip the paintings. The captain is absolutely stunned, totally weirded out by the whole vibe. Not long after, a couple of creepy dudes in hoods show up. These elder council guys start gossiping about how Julian wrecked a monster without even touching his magic blade. Aiden smirks like a total villain. He cuts the chat short, claiming he's got boss duties to handle, and heads inside. Aiden immediately drills his lackey. Did Julian seriously body that fiend without his signature weapon? The guy nods calmly. Sweating bullets, the minion admits the kid is an absolute beast. He then checks if he should stick to the master game plan. Looking psycho, Aiden gives the green light, totally planning to turn that powerhouse into his personal pet. Meanwhile, over at the Ed Cosmos Art Gallery, a few randoms are scoping out the scene. Standing inside, our boy doubts anyone will buy his junk. A tiny dude walks up, calling himself Pio, the art expert. He claims he's super hyped to help out, even if Julian of the shut eyes dropping by is totally random. Julian grabs the drape hiding the canvas and dramatically yanks it off. It's a sick painting of a wheat field. Pio's eyes totally light up. He's clearly hooked. Whipping out a magnifying glass, the dude inspects the brushstrokes, noting it screams Corsius Vincent vibes. Julian leans in to listen, but Pio brutally drops the bomb. It's a total knockoff. His red eyes pop. He silently roasts the original Julian's trash taste and regrets not bringing different loot, but figured this one was big money, since it was literally front and center in the hallway. Pio keeps rambling, admitting it's an insanely top-tier fake, which is exactly why. He'll grab it for 1,000 nars anyway. Decent cash, sure, but way too short for those magical rocks. The expert runs off to grab the paperwork, telling Julian to chill and browse the gallery. The second he leaves, someone asks if he's really gonna accept that trash deal. Enter Eileen. She's super confident the piece is legit. Shocked to see her, Julian asks how she knows it's the real deal. She was just here to check out her cousin's exhibit, but caught a major detail walking past his canvas. According to her, literally nobody else in the Empire slaps oil paint down with that kind of insane skill. Now, super paranoid, Julian stares at the canvas again. Eileen points out the bottom corner signature is 100% authentic. Our guy leans way in to squint at it, while Pio acts totally shocked, playing dumb about missing it. Julian is absolutely done with this scammer. His eyes flare with pure rage, demanding to know if he just got played. Terrified, the appraiser starts leaking a purple fear aura. Before fists start flying, Eileen snatches Julian's wrist, begging him to chill and not do anything stupid. She plays peacemaker, claiming experts mess up too, since they're human. Shocked, he almost decked the guy. And noticing everyone staring, Julian dials it back and mutters a sorry. Still glaring though, he demands a price update. The terrified expert goes wide-eyed and bows like crazy. The dude pleads for mercy, stammering that if the piece is actually legit, it's way too pricey for this basic gallery to ever afford. Julian scoffs, gripping the guy's shoulder, joking about how stuck he is with this masterpiece. While the expert basically cries, Eileen steps up. She drops that she's got a hookup who buys literally anything by Cautious, totally saving Julian's mood. But she wants a favor back, laying down 2 rules. First, let the scammer off the hook, which Julian didn't even care about. Her second rule, delivered with a massive blush, is that he tags along for a personal favor, since he's jobless right now. Julian is down, and they shake on it. Acting super defensive, Eileen snaps at him not to overthink it, insisting she isn't just being sweet, it was just payback for rescuing her and Julian. Cut to a super creepy hallway, where some freaked-out guard creeps around with a tiny lantern. He is practically shaking when a weird sound bounces off the walls. Out of nowhere, glowing eyes pop up in the dark, totally traumatizing him. Eileen actually spills this whole spooky rumor to Julian while they stroll through the corridors of the academy. She drops the tea that a guard got jumped on duty, but the teachers just completely brushed it off. But now, everyone is hearing creepy midnight sounds, and more guards keep getting wrecked. Totally lost. Julian is like, what else could pull that off besides a ghost? Eileen is totally convinced it is a demon. Even though the school has insane magical security, she bets something sneaked in when the resonance stone powered down. Right then, this dark-haired dude walks up. Enter Hardy Godfrey, rudely cutting in to ask if Eileen seriously brought in outside backup. He says what is up to Julian, completely ghosting her. Eileen gets super salty, but Hardy claims she dragged a random outsider into official school business. She claps back, saying she just wanted an actual pro who knows how to wreck demons. Hardy starts mocking her, dropping hints that a side branch kid like her should be grinding way harder. She absolutely roasts him, pointing out he barely survived his own thesis review and desperately needs to go rewrite it. Getting super triggered, he snaps that side family nobodies need to stay in their lane, and things instantly get extremely heated. Totally over the drama, Julian decides to crash the fight. He steps right up and unsheathes his blade, leaving Eileen completely shook, wondering if he got triggered by the family trash talk, or if he is actually stepping up for her. With zero warning, he just swings his weapon. Panicking, both Eileen and Hardy squeeze their eyes shut. Out of nowhere, a tiny rock bonks Hardy right on the head. Julian literally sliced open the ceiling, exposing this freaky glowing red aura. A literal monster was camping out inside the hallway architecture. Reacting instantly, our guy gets into stance and lands some solid hits on the creep, until an ear-piercing shriek pauses the fight. Hardy is having a total meltdown, shrieking about a monster riding his back. Turns out, it is covered in these creepy little red orbs with horrifying faces. Julian just smirks and points out that monsters literally do not care about your fancy family tree status. He jokes that if Hardy wants to survive this, he better start begging a side branch kid to save his life right now. With one effortless swing, our hero completely obliterates the creepy thing bothering Hardy. Right after that, Eileen spots incoming danger and yells at Julian to look up. Up near the ceiling, those tiny creeps swirl into this massive, terrifying storm of evil energy. The beast just keeps getting bigger, blocking out all the light in the room. Hardy is practically crying while the girl stands there absolutely paralyzed by how huge it is. Those little red things literally fused into a colossal boss monster. Julian figures this is their real gimmick. A squad of weak nerds merging to seem tough. Flashing a slightly psychotic smirk, our guy admits he is actually finding this super entertaining. It looks exactly like a four-eyed mutant rat, and with its gross jaw unhinged, it just violently lunges straight at the squad. It tries to smash Julian, but he smoothly sidesteps the hit. His glowing blue blade barely misses the freakish eyes, making the beast swing again and miss entirely. Then, Julian goes full offense, slashing his weapon right across the mutant's ugly mug. He lands massive damage, literally chopping its size down as all the tiny loser demons start falling off the main body. Seeing its weak point, our dude comes up with a quick strat and steps right into the beast's personal space. Going absolutely savage, he unleashes a crazy fast combo. Eileen quickly throws up a magic shield just to block all the flying monster guts. In seconds, the entire boss monster crumbles to pieces, and our hero smugly puts his blade away like an absolute boss. Meanwhile, our magic girl is already on cleanup duty, busting out a shiny gold crystal to magically repair the busted walls. Glancing over, She asks how on earth he tracked those hidden freaks down. Julian recalls spotting a weird emotional aura behind Hardy earlier, but just gives her a secretive smile, keeping his super cool vision powers on the low. She admits she always assumed Julian hated the side family students, but now it totally looks like he belongs in that group too. The dude looks completely puzzled by that wild claim and asks when he ever acted like that. Eileen brings up that one time he literally called her a charity case halfling. She confesses that seeing him stand up for the underdog families really gives her serious flashbacks to the old Julian from their academy days. In his head, our guy realizes that his edgy tough guy act actually left a super deep scar on her feelings back then. The magic girl points out people are too terrified to bully him, but for her, dealing with insane side family discrimination is just a toxic everyday reality. Julian fires back that side family or whatever. He straight up admits he was wrong, saying everyone bleeds the same red blood. That totally makes Eileen blush super hard. It was a low-key apology, but still counted. So, she actually goes ahead and thanks him for it. Our guy is super confused, but the mage just brushes it off, claiming it is payback for his heavy lifting during the fight. That totally clicks for our sword dude. By then, the wall is pretty much patched up, and they finish the whole job soon after. Since Julian completely wrecked those demons, the girl finally takes him to meet the art buyer just like they agreed. Cut to Julian standing in this ridiculously fancy room, with literal magic books floating everywhere. This crazy hyped guy says he never dreamed he would see this masterpiece in real life. It is a super rare posthumous work by Corsius. The dude fanboying over the art is Alram Chai, who happens to be the vice director of V Academy. He clearly knows his stuff, totally geeking out over details that honestly just look super basic to Julian. Alram just keeps overanalyzing every single brushstroke like he is actually living in the painting, and Julian is honestly mind-blown by his dramatic imagination. The director claims the whole sad, lonely vibe of the piece is actually just the artist capturing his little brother's struggles. His brother literally funded his entire life, and the artist even wrote a letter saying this piece perfectly captured all that intense heartbreak. Taking a sip of tea, Julian just nods along like he totally gets it, but using his secret emotion reading power, he notices this insanely bright orange aura radiating off the guy. Orange means pure denial. That proves the director is deeply mixed up in this mess and is hardcore doubting our main guy. Julian starts low-key panicking, wondering if the canvas is actually a fake, but no way, right? Not after how crazy Eileen and the director just reacted to it. The artwork was 100% legit. So, why on earth was Alram acting so sketchy? Sweating bullets, our boy started stressing out big time, until Alram finally shattered the super awkward silence. He basically questioned if Julian even understood the art, accusing him of just wanting a fast payday. Alram straight up said he would buy it, but wanted to deal with someone who actually respected its true worth. Hearing that massive shade, Julian figured his payday was about to tank. Going all in, Julian dropped some major trivia, pointing out that Corsius literally dropped dead right after painting it. He explained the canvas was a huge deal specifically because it tied directly into the creator's tragic end. The guy literally bursts out laughing, but then apologizes and admits Julian actually knows his stuff when it comes to art. Finally, it was time to talk actual numbers. Flashing 4 fingers, the dude offered 400,000 nars. Huge flex, but our boy wanted to squeeze out a little extra. He pushed back, saying a masterpiece that only got famous post-mortem definitely deserved a much thicker price tag. Alram did not even blink before bumping it up to 500,000 nars, totally confident that was plenty. The offer skyrocketed so fast it left Julian completely stunned. Since 1 nar is basically equal to $1, we are talking an insane value of 500 million won here. Alram had to snap him out of it because our dude was totally spacing out. Flashing a grin, Julian praised the guy's flawless taste and officially shook on the deal. The last gallery straight up admitted they were too broke for this, and they were right. Julian's artistic radar was absolutely spot on. A bit later, Eileen knocks on the office door, popping her head in to check if the boss needed her. He was busy obsessing over his brand new painting and just motioned for her to grab a seat. He brought up that whole hallway drama, but the mage flexed that she handled it perfectly. Guess his stressing was totally pointless. Pouring her some tea, he casually asked if she ran into any messy problems. Thinking about the Hardy situation, she chose to keep it quiet and played it off. Still, the director hit her with an apology anyway. Then he went super secretive, asking her to keep things quiet while dropping the bomb that the Aurora Society caused the chaos. The mage was mind blown, questioning why they would target the school. Alram did not know the motive, but claimed the proof was undeniable. They totally waited for the exact second the resonance stone glitched out to make their move. He warned they had to keep this totally secret from the student body to prevent mass hysteria. Super stressed, Eileen squeezed her teacup. The Aurora Society is this super creepy new demon-worshipping cult, and the fact they wanted to jump the academy got her thinking hard. Still, the guy swore he had already beefed up security and would do literally anything to keep the kids safe. He also brought up how Julian totally bailed her out before. The second she heard his name, her eyes bugged out. She suddenly remembered they were supposed to meet up and talk about selling that art piece. Eileen mentioned she wanted to give the guy a huge shout out for his help, but it looked like he'd already dipped. The VP confirmed the dude basically sprinted out the door right after getting paid, supposedly rushing off to cop a bunch of moonlight stones. Hearing that absolutely shook the mage to her core. She bolted, leaving the guy standing there wondering why everyone was so chaotic today, and rushed to the jewelry shop only to find the owner bowing in apology. Super frustrated, she reminded him he promised they had plenty in stock, but the clerk awkwardly explained that some dude named Julian had literally bought out their entire supply. Even worse, it was going to take forever to get a restock. Completely panicking, Eileen sobbed that her entire research thesis depended on those gems, having an absolute meltdown over the situation. Meanwhile, our main guy was living his absolute best life. He'd strolled right into the Twilight Flame Forge, trying to hype up a local smith to forge a blade entirely out of his newly bought gems. He wanted a weapon that literally looked like it was glowing with pure lunar energy. The massively annoyed craftsman fired back that this was a fancy wall hanger, not a real weapon, and his ego absolutely refused to make fake gear. Julian, completely unbothered, swore up and down that he actually planned to fight with it, smashing his fist onto the counter. The furious smith yelled that this was just some bougie prop, and insulted the kid for even calling the blueprint a sword. He told Julian to take his shiny toys elsewhere, bragging that this legendary shop only crafts hardcore military gear for elite guys like Sir Reich. Totally chill. Julian dropped the bombshell to Ruger Orland that he planned to carve monomeridian circuits straight into the blade. Ruger just scoffed, calling the idea pure garbage because fighting with a crystal sword was literally a death wish. While Julian thought it over, a younger girl walked up looking super sorry, explaining that their brand logo goes on everything they craft. So if this flashy gem blade shattered on day one, the shop's epic reputation would instantly tank. Julian played it cool but acted bummed, saying he really wanted his gear forged by the same legends who equipped Hayden Reichs. Still, he held out a hand, pretending to back off while promising he'd personally make sure the blade was practically indestructible. Ruger jabbed a finger right at the kid's face, demanding to know if he was actually delusional enough to believe that. Without missing a beat, Julian smirked and dared the grumpy smith to test his combat skills directly. Then he slammed a massive, heavy pouch right on the counter, demanding they build it first while throwing down way more cash than the job actually cost. His terms were super simple. If the blade snaps during a trial run, he walks away without a single refund or crying about the gems. The old smith finally caved, but aggressively warned that a shattered blade meant their entire transaction never even happened. Fast forward a few days, and our guy rolls back into the shop to lay eyes on his sick new weapon. Top-tier crafters had literally pulled all-nighters finishing it. Yet the nervous clerk still asked if it was seriously going into battle. The exact millisecond his fingers wrapped around the hilt, his ultimate blade mastery kicked in, hyping him up for the crazy trial ahead. On the big test day, with zero clouds in the sky, a massive crowd of nosy locals swarmed the area to watch the show. The shop girl offered to shoo the randoms away, but he just shrugged it off, totally fine with an audience. Ruger strutted over and called him out, unveiling the ultimate test target. Not just normal gear, but a brutal 1 centimeter solid steel slab. The crazy dare was to slice straight through that metal. Chuckling to himself, Julian had to respect how hard they tried to fail him. Honestly, stomping weak challenges is boring anyway. Watching him step up, the grumpy smith silently realized the kid totally matched the crazy height. Even so, he heavily bet against that flashy gemstone blade surviving such a brutal crash. Gripping the hilt, Julian instantly caught a wildly different vibe, sensing massive magical energy, creating a superhighway inside the blade. The insane feeling totally blew his mind. With one lightning-fast swing, he obliterated the armor piece, making the entire crowd's jaws drop. The crystal edge survived without a single flaw. Catching the aftermath, even the doubting clerk was absolutely speechless. He was straight up funneling massive waves of magic, locking it onto the weapon, while keeping the energy spinning nonstop. This was the ultimate, authentic form of his lunar blade in action. Without even breaking a sweat, that heavy-duty steel block got totally shredded. Smirking with pure confidence, He turned to the crafters and asked what their next move was. Neon blue aura dumped off the weapon, literally lighting up the whole block like a massive spotlight. Because of that insane power surge, his broken skill completely leveled up into the legendary Lunar Strike. Flexing his newly unlocked ability, the guy just grinned. An absolute metric ton of magic was now locked right inside his gear. Still, that blade was totally flawless. It gave off this seriously intense, overpowered energy. Our guy finally pulled off crafting the ultimate weapon. Looking super awkward, Ruger steps up and confesses he totally slept on his skills. Sliding the blade away, Julian smirks and drops a classic line about actions speaking way louder than words. Ruger is quick to remind him though, if that thing shatters, their whole blacksmithing rep is completely cooked. After swearing he'll use it carefully, we see Reich walking up to the absolutely shredded test armor. Checking out the wrecked metal, he is amazed by the incredibly smooth slices. Looking pretty stressed, he starts questioning our hero's real endgame. Rena chimes in, wondering what is on his mind. The master explains that Julian's energy is still lingering there, completely mind-blown by how flawlessly his strikes are tuned for pure destruction. Reich is honestly bummed he missed seeing that epic slash happen in real time. Catching her weird vibe, he asks if the dude gave her the creeps during their latest quest together. Looking a little let down, she admits her squad mate was definitely packing some serious power. Reich isn't letting it go though, demanding the tea and asking if anything felt sketchy. Totally confused, she just echoes him, forcing her mentor to straight up ask if Julian might be secretly rolling with the Dawn Society. Cut back to our boy, who's basically riding a massive high from his epic achievement. The weapon is practically glowing with insane stats now. Deep down, Lee realizes he's low-key morphing into the real Julian every single day. He has to lock in and remember his main mission is actually escaping back to reality. Bro can't stay trapped inside an NPC forever, but logging out is going to be incredibly tough. To pull that off, this entire universe has to wrap up. Basically, Hayden must beat the game by stopping the demon boss from respawning. Plus, he has to make sure the villain version of himself doesn't murder the actual main character. Timeline-wise, we're right where that sketchy cult, the Dawn Society, shows up to revive Barbados at any cost. That obviously puts them right on the hit list for Hayden and Rainier, especially for the girl since those creeps took out her dad. Our guy really wanted to team up with Hayden's crew, but it's looking super rough. He's debating if he should just infiltrate the cult like the canon timeline to farm some intel. Problem is, he has zero clue how to get recruited. Out of nowhere, his danger sense starts screaming. Debating if he's just being paranoid or if his passive triggered, he goes into full defense mode. He calls out the lurkers, telling them their magic is leaking and to drop the stealth act, prompting a figure to step out. Our hero instantly cracks up seeing who it is. He looks right at the girl and asks if they know each other. Rocking green hair and pink eyes with some random dude trailing her, it suddenly clicks for him. She's literally the dark magic heavy hitter and cult bishop, Eleanor de Michael. He also has a solid guess about her backup. These guys are basically Hayden's absolute worst nightmares. Giggling, she loves that he saw right through her stealth build. Dropping the mask, she claims he totally lived up to the hype. Playing it cool, he drops a hint that he sort of knows what this meetup is about. Flashing a smirk, she says that skips the boring part and demands his final answer right then and there. In reality, he's completely clueless and totally faking it. Trying to stall, he pretends he needs more time to mull it over. The sorceress shuts that down fast though, reminding him that he literally slid into their messages first to join the cult. Shook that the plot was already this far along, he sighs about how fixing the original dude's screw-ups is his whole aesthetic now. Still, he realizes his choices barely matter, since Hayden is scripted to wreck his character no matter what. Sure, he was destined to join the dark side for some demonic buffs eventually, but why rush it? He tries to argue there's no deadline for this choice. She nods but drops a huge red flag about them taking it personally, hinting they might think he's secretly plotting to ruin their squad, since everyone calls him the Empire's loyal pet. Catching onto her massive trust issues, he knows locking in with the villains right now would be a total headache. If the Royals caught him, he'd be instantly cancelled and speedrun his way to a game over. Plus, if Hayden figured out he was actually teaming up with the villains, they'd definitely throw down to the death, completely wrecking any chance of him logging out for good. Our guy is sweating bullets, desperately trying to find an escape route. But LLNR drops a reality check, warning him he is way too deep into this secret mess to just walk away. The guy hidden under the hood chimes in, making it clear escaping won't be a walk in the park. This mystery dude actually belonged to the Seniors, a top-tier fighting squad that made regular nights look like total jokes. Tossing his hood aside, The guy finally shows his real face. Turns out it is Pelor, the Iron Fists. He flexes a nasty facial scar, vowing to wreck Julian, unless he decides fast, claiming that old wound still burns like crazy. Our main guy groans internally, realizing this is just another angry hater from Julian's past he has to handle, which is basically his daily routine now. Still, gotta commit to the bit. So he throws a mock apology, claiming he absolutely never remembers the total losers he trashes. That comment completely triggers Pelor, making our hero seriously regret acting his role a little too perfectly. Blinking out of existence, the brawler instantly teleports behind him, whispering a threat about wiping that smug look off his face. Right on cue, the exceptional swordsman passive kicks in, letting him perfectly parry that massive fist with his blade. Big mistake though, he accidentally drew his rusty, basic blade instead of the overpowered moonlight one. Pure muscle memory messed him up. But right now, his only option is to stall this meathead forever. The brawl drags on with our hero desperately blocking everything, eventually throwing some wild slashes that the enemy easily sidesteps. Sensing the massive danger flags, he figures he desperately needs a breather, but his rival refuses to give him breathing room, sprinting forward with insane velocity. He winds up a colossal haymaker that connects perfectly, absolutely launching our guy across the room. The sheer kinetic energy nearly knocks him out cold, while Pelor chuckles, mocking him for getting crushed by a so-called loser. Still eating dirt, our guy slowly reaches for his top-tier gear. He is totally furious, completely sick of mopping up another dude's drama. Meanwhile, Pelor is genuinely shocked the kid isn't dead yet. Hitting absolute maximum rage, his ultimate passive, Open Eyes, snaps awake instantly, gripping the hilt tightly. A terrifying, blood-red energy explodes from his body. The bad guys instantly feel the terrifying vibe shift, pinpointing the glowing blade as the danger source, prompting Pelor to try and shatter it. But before the bruiser can even process his next move, the hero dashes in with a lightning-fast slash that completely blindsides him, leaving Pelor staring at a horribly mangled arm. Our guy just stands there, flashing a totally villainous smirk. Furious, the brawler blindly rushes back in for revenge. Ignoring his busted limb, he launches a lethal hook that barely grazes our hero's cheek, but the hero effortlessly weaves through it, carving into his foe before the fist connects, causing the brawler to howl in sheer agony. The wounded fighter yells for space, prepping a counter, but our guy is literally moving like a teleporting blur. Not only is he effortlessly sidestepping every single thrust, but he also fires right back, plunging a brutal hit straight into the guy's gut. The sheer power is insane, making him look like an absolute demon to his bleeding target. Glowing ruby red, his eyes scream pure dominance. He is actually enjoying the nasty crunch of steel on bone, and that absolute fear in his rival's eyes, since this crazy skill literally feeds off intense adrenaline. Completely broken and bleeding out, Pelor ditches his ego and practically cries for mercy. The only problem? That overpowered skill turns its user into a total psycho. Quitting isn't on the menu, he keeps shredding the guy for fun, finally mocking that his tough guy nickname feels pretty ironic right now. Without breaking a sweat, our ruthless hero yanks the defeated dude up by his scalp. The guy is sobbing for his life to deaf ears, until gentle fingers suddenly graze the hero's neck, as Eleanor gently whispers to cut it out. Her closeness instantly cools his berserker rage, turning off his glowing eyes and leaving the battered brawler barely choking on air, but alive. Snapping back to reality, our main guy is totally freaked out by his own brutal handiwork. That skill normally messes with your head, but it turns him into a straight-up menace. Realizing things got way too dark, he awkwardly jokes that the other guy threw the first punch, aiming her magical staff. Eleanor nods in total agreement. However, our hero quickly calls her out for just standing there, watching the whole mess unfold. While tossing some healing spells onto her bleeding buddy, the magic user confesses she totally enjoyed watching him catch a beatdown, adding it made her respect him way more. Flexing her stunning mark of beauty charm, the gorgeous girl pitches a team-up, pointing out he is literally out of other options anyway. Our guy taps the mage on the shoulder, playing it cool. He says he is down but needs a minute to sleep on it. Pelor literally shakes as Julian strolls past him. Meanwhile, Eleanor is super annoyed her whole charm routine totally bombed on our sword boy. She spins around to face Iron Fists, demanding his take on the whole weird vibe. He confesses Julian is way more overpowered than they guessed. Eleanor smirks, claiming she always knew that amnesia gossip was total garbage. Still, she tells him to keep his mouth shut around the other bishops. She is plotting to use this juicy intel for her own endgame. Pelor, totally flushed from her mind games, just nods along. Clearly, her magic tricks only fail when Julian is involved. Fast forward to his room. And our hero is absolutely losing his mind. He is deep in thought. Sure, his weird skill just saved his life, but leaning on something that glitchy is a massive risk. Plus, the Dawn Society is built totally different. They are hardcore. He is completely stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. If he signs up with the cult, Hayden will literally end him, ruining any shot at getting back home. But if he snitches, the cult's assassins will wipe him out for sure. Squeezing his eyes shut, he desperately hunts for a loophole. After weighing the absolute chaos, he figures faking it and joining the Dawn Society is his least terrible option. It is the ultimate undercover mission. He can snag their secrets, block the Demon King's comeback tour, and finally secure his ticket home. Cut to the Janelle Monastery. It is the main hub for the Sun God Church, which is basically the biggest religion in all of Rosenda. Julian is just casually strolling through their massive lobby. The locals are seriously side-eyeing him. Everyone knows he hates the gods, so the vibe is instantly toxic and super tense. One believer literally thinks he is about to start a bloodbath. Sweating bullets, a priest shuffles over, asking why he crashed their holy spot. Without missing a beat, our guy drops the bomb. He is here for a VIP meeting with the top boss. That makes the poor priest panic even harder, since nobody told him about any guest list today. Right on cue, a nun slides in and offers to be his tour guide. Sounds like his mystery contact sent an escort. While he tries to read her total poker face, she casually mentions he is rocking up way ahead of schedule. Suddenly, she drops the holy act. Eleanor pops out of the illusion, admitting she totally bet against him showing up. He is genuinely mind-blown, watching high-tier camouflage magic melt away like that. He says hey and gives props for hiding a shady cult inside a mega church. They finally hit this massive set of double doors. Eleanor goes dead serious, warning him to watch his attitude, because the big boss is right inside. He jokes about behaving, but he definitely clocks how stressed she is compared to their last hangout. Her paranoid energy screams that the ultimate leader is waiting. The second they step inside, the whole room starts whispering. The dude chilling on the main throne leans forward and double-checks if he is the famous Julian. Even with the whole creepy mask aesthetic, the leader has this goofy grin that totally ruins his intimidating vibe. Makes sense for Tenoran, he was just some random farmer until a holy artifact upgraded him to cult leader. Eleanor hisses at Julian to bow down already, but our rebel isn't having it, flat out asking why he would ever drop to his knees. Eleanor is shook. She asks if he even wants in, reminding him that basic respect is step one of the initiation. But our sword boy did not come here to play follower. He is looking for a pure business deal, zero strings attached. He is way too cynical for religion anyway, so pulling this arrogant stunt is his best strategic play. Brimming with swagger, he points out they desperately need his clout, just like he needs a favor from their deity. The cultists are absolutely losing it over his disrespect, but Tenoran snaps his fingers to silence the room. The boss agrees that fake formalities are useless for a real partnership, kicking out the entire crowd except for Eleanor. The lackeys shuffle out, looking completely stressed and not loving this vibe at all. Tenoran turns back around, chuckling that our boy is just as cocky as the rumors said. Out of nowhere, he closes the gap, grabs Julian's shoulders, and says he loves the energy, dragging him off to see a secret stash. Walking down the hall, the boss brags that only the highest tier elites ever get to see their ultimate holy weapon. He straight up admits he refuses to let someone with this much potential just walk away. Letting him leave means instant war. But turning a powerhouse like Julian into a teammate, that is a massive win. So, to sweeten the deal and lock down their epic new alliance, he promotes our guy to bishop on the spot, handing him the keys to the entire society's power. Eleanor is totally shook by the idea, but her boss brushes it off, claiming the dude is just getting what he earned, and low-key tells her to stop second-guessing him. Completely embarrassed, she just stares at the floor. The archbishop checks if Julian is cool with this, and our guy nods, throwing him a quick thanks. Tanelon figures that since our hero actually bothered to make the trip out here, he might as well show off something epic. Inside a massive room sits a creepy cup practically bleeding weird crimson fluid. Julian instantly clocks it as the holy relic, that legendary item which literally picks some random farmer to run the Dawn Society. This thing can totally unlock Barbados's hidden energy and literally bring it to life. The old man reaches out, magically pulling some red goop from the cup. It shapes into a twisted horn right before Julian's eyes. Thanks to that artifact, Tenelron just forged an actual demon horn, basically a monster's ultimate battery pack. Our boy had never actually seen one of these things get made, but knowing its insane potential totally zoned him out. Tenelron literally had to snap him back to reality. Julian admits he definitely hit the jackpot here, since this specific item was the missing puzzle piece for his master plan. Flashing a super sketchy grin, The Archbishop just casually offers up the brand new horn like it's no big deal. Feeling kinda paranoid, Julian grabs it, realizing the dude just handed over a god-tier weapon way too fast. You have to slaughter multiple demons just to craft one. Sure, it's crazy expensive to make, but the sheer power boost is unreal. Tenelron is seriously hyped to watch what kind of crazy damage our hero can do with it, betting the kid could honestly end up outclassing the legendary Holy Swordsman altogether. But Julian knows the massive risks involved here, especially since jamming these things into people is exactly how humanoid monsters are born. Instead of just borrowing strength, you literally mutate into a freak, and Julian is not trying to catch that vibe anytime soon. Looking totally stressed out, Eleanor pulls the old man aside. She whispers that dropping a prize like this on a newbie is way too risky. She points out the kid hasn't even officially locked in his loyalty to their crew yet. Plus, since this item is literally their entire power base, the rest of the gang is gonna freak out. They really thought they were being stealthy, but Julian hears literally every single word. Stepping in, he casually offers to hand the freebie back, claiming that wasn't the real reason he even showed up anyway. The Archbishop chuckles, clearly impressed by the kid's surprisingly chill and respectful attitude. He admits getting Eleanor on board might take a minute, so he hits Julian up for a quick solid in the meantime. To forge these things, you absolutely need core stones ripped straight out of a level 3 demon's heart. So Tenelron straight up tasks our guy with hunting down a fresh batch of them. Hunting beasts like that would normally trigger massive red flags with the Royal Guard, but the boss promises to handle the cover-up. Fast forward a few days, Julian is standing at a packed train station looking at the idling cars, completely mind-blown. Not only did the boss officially welcome him to the club, but he straight up handed him a bishop title. Day 1 on the job, and he's already assigned a 3-horn bounty. Plus, he's pretty positive these guys have double agents planted right inside the royal palace. Calling them a simple crew is an absolute joke. They operate with the insane budget and power of a literal nation. Chilling opposite him, Heron starts chatting about how ridiculously awesome it is that trains finally link all these random towns together. They're currently road tripping to Bernardan to catch this massive ascension party thrown by the Sun God Squad. Heron is basically tagging along as the VIP face of the Kryart clan, trying to break the awkward silence. He totally pressures Julian into hitting up the after-party once his bounty is handled. Playing along, Julian says he might slide through if his schedule is clear, though he can totally tell the guy is still terrified of him. They finally pull into Bernardan and fist bump goodbye. But right before splitting, Heron drops a heavy warning. Absolutely do not mess with this dude Margaril. That dude was besties with the Highlands crew, the exact same squad Julian literally just wiped out. So annoying. Julian realizes he's got another massive headache to deal with, all thanks to the stupid drama caused by his body's past owner. Whatever. He just needs to stay locked in on his actual goal, wrecking some monster faces. Cut to a bit later, some raging ginger dude glares daggers at him, barking orders to drop the mission. Sweating a little, Julian is like, excuse me? The guy angrily explains the pier and woods are on total lockdown for church members only, just so they can set up their stupid festival. Our hero fires back, warning him that a psycho 3-horn is roaming those woods and will literally crash their little party. But the stubborn idiot completely brushes him off, claiming if the beast hasn't shown up yet, it's totally a non-issue. Lowering his voice dangerously, Julian asks if this guy is seriously willing to defy direct orders from the literal royal palace. The ginger dude claps back, saying that is exactly why he wants our boy to put the mission on hold. Like, this festival is the city's entire personality, and wrecking the vibe over some sleeping demon is totally out of the question. He literally threatens Julian, saying if this monster hunt ruins their massive party, the blame is falling entirely on him. With the big bash only 7 days away, he tells our hero to just chill and vibe with the party first. Julian just gives him this deadpan, mocking glare. Out of nowhere, a super cute little girl pops up at the door looking for her dad. It is Tarina looking for Oral. Being super curious, she wanders over and totally asks who the gorgeous guy is. Freaking out, her dad yells at her to back away from Julian and run over to him right this second. Julian is genuinely baffled that this dude thought he would actually hurt a kid. Reading the guy's aura, it is completely purple with pure panic. Just to wrap up the awkward chat, Julian drops a "we will talk later" and dips, leaving the dad and daughter alone. Brushing his hair back, our guy exhales hard. Out in the hall, he bumps into 2 of his squad mates, who immediately demand the tea on how the chat went. Julian spills that Orinil is acting super stubborn, making it literally impossible to stop the mission from being delayed. One guy asks if they should pull their squad out of the woods, but our swordsman casually says to just leave them on standby. He completely knows that festival is absolutely doomed. Super tense, the bros ask him what the heck he means by that. Julian drops the lore, explaining that this town, Bernardin, is literally the spot where players face their first triple-horned boss. A beast like that is not your average mob. It is practically guaranteed to turn the whole celebration into absolute chaos. In this world, more horns equal massive power leaps. Plus, these freakish monsters even get official names alongside their crazy skills. This specific three-horn nightmare, Homeline, is a nasty parasite that completely morphs its entire turf into a massive, twisted maze. Step inside, and you instantly hit a toxic swamp. Even if you dodge that, it hits you with crazy mind games, making it insanely hard to beat. Our main guy just chills and casually sips his coffee while waiting. He totally knows Hamlin is already making moves, and it is only a matter of time before Orenil comes crawling back for help. For a hot second, he just vibes in the quiet. Then, a kid crashes into the room, yelling that the commander needs him at the mansion as soon as possible. The kid bows, feeling super bad for interrupting, but Julian could not care less. He completely predicted this exact moment. Shaking like a leaf, the boss waits for our hero to show up. Without missing a beat, our boy strolls right up to the city leader. Absolutely panicking, he reveals that his daughter has been completely knocked out cold since yesterday night. Trying to mask his freakout, he explains that doctors are clueless, and basically every other kid in town is catching the exact same mysterious sleep. Julian instantly connects the dots. Knowing the demon's raid is officially underway, the boss states the obvious, that kids do not just randomly fall into comas. This is 100% a demon's doing. He screams in total panic. Our guy validates his crazy theory, dropping the fact that the beast Homlin out in the Purin woods is the one to blame. The monster literally blasts its spores onto anything breathing, mind-controlling them into its personal little minions. It totally skips adults, but is deadly to kids, putting them in a deep sleep. Our hero drops the harsh truth, warning that his little girl might already be gone. Losing his absolute mind, the leader grabs our boy. He straight up declares the festival can rot for all he cares. Taking down that monster is his only priority now. Julian looks at him and asks if he is seriously willing to do whatever it takes to save her. Literally begging on his knees, the boss promises anything. Literally anything? Our boy asks coldly. Even if it means absolutely wrecking Bernardin? Shaking endlessly, Orenil takes a massive gulp. Pushed into a corner, he tightly grips the teen standing right in front of him. Dropping to his knees, the boss pleads, promising he will shoulder all the blame for the incoming chaos. Flashing a cocky smirk, our main character agrees. He declares that since he gave the green light, he is officially going to obliterate Hamlin. Soon enough, squads of guards start drenching the entire forest with heavy buckets of gasoline. One of the dudes hesitates, asking if totally trashing such a gorgeous spot is actually needed. Julian claps back that you would be an idiot not to go absolutely overkill against this kind of threat. Wait, you seriously want to torch everything? The guard asks, completely mind-blown. 100%. We are definitely not playing Hamlin's Twisted Maze games. We are just going to nuke it, our guy states, recalling that this was the ultimate cheese strat to win back in the game. The sidekick worries this will piss Orenil off, but our hero just shrugs, pointing out the boss already chose human lives over some dumb party. Smirking, he hypes the crew to kick things off. Set it ablaze, Julian orders, walking away like a total boss, while the massive fire wakes the sleeping beast. An insane, rage-filled roar echoes everywhere as Hamlan bursts straight out of the inferno. The entire squad shivers hearing the monster's terrifying scream. Our main guy orders the crew to fall back, declaring he's taking this one solo. The squad freaks out, asking how he'll survive without backup. Just stay out of this, Julian repeats firmly. You guys would just mess up my flow, the fighter smirks, unsheathing his blade. Julian steps straight into the action, strutting right through the blazing inferno toward the beast. Chuckling at the insane heat, he gets into a combat stance, locking eyes with the three-horned monster, Hamlin. The enraged freak swipes its massive claws, totally wrecking the floor. Smooth as ever, Julian charges his lunar blade with pure magic until it shines brightly. Epic energy radiates from the glowing weapon as the quick-footed fighter dashes straight into the danger zone. Stunned that its maximum power is locked, the beast stops dead in its tracks, letting out a mocking scoff. Julian brags about the flames nerfing his opponent. The monster glares, while our guy confidently calls game over. Suddenly, the monster blasts a wave of blinding fire everywhere. Our hero just stops, totally paralyzed and baffled. Feeling super lightheaded, he covers his face. Julian totally forgot about the enemy's toxic dust. Inhaling that stuff causes instant brain fog, sickness, and trances. The fiend totally uses this distraction to get its balance back, but the guy just bursts out laughing, getting his grip ready. Bro, did you actually think that trick would fly? He yells over the roaring fire. Julian shook off the toxins completely. His brain was way too chaotic for that stuff to even scratch him. The monster shrieks, sending massive shockwaves through the whole blazing woodland. Winding up for a massive slash, Julian chuckles to himself. He's already unhinged enough. He really didn't need any toxic dust to prove it. Jumping up with his magic-infused blade, the dude pulls off a wicked mid-air spin, lighting up the entire woods with a blinding blue flash. An absolutely insane blast erupts, visible from way outside the tree line. Sliced clean in half, the beast drops hard. Julian spins around to ensure it is toast, while the frantic squad sprints over to check on their guy. I am all good, he promises, slipping his weapon away while standing triumphantly over the totally wrecked monster. Miles away, Sir Oronel is practically glued to his window, nervously watching the tree line go up in smoke. Thanks for playing ball on this op, Julian smirks. Pretty sure the Royals will totally vibe with your bold choices. Without a single drop of guilt, our guy casually asks if the dude's kid has woken up yet. Yeah, she is bouncing back, the boss mutters. Cool as ice. Julian pulls out a pendant, calling it a little present for the girl. Stunned, the dad stares at the jewelry, crafted from the monster's literal bones. The fighter explains that because the kid reacted to the toxins first, she definitely packs way more magic potential than average kids, and is bound to be an epic sorceress later. Totally bewildered, the dad asks why he is acting so nice when they literally cannot stand each other. Flashing a grin, our boy answers, hey, the more magic users, the better. Oronel immediately asks what the catch is, but the teen just shrugs it off as a simple thank you for teaming up. The older guy is practically shaking, not buying it for a second. There is no way the kid does not know about his shady links to the exact royals he just took down. Julian drops one last thank you and dips, leaving the terrified boss completely mind-blown, just staring blankly at the spooky charm. Gripping the weird artifact, the commander checks on his kid. She greets him with a massive smile, and he hypes up her speedy recovery. Brought you a little something to speed up your healing. He hands it over, totally shocked, when the girl instantly obsesses over it. Still super stressed about Julian's real endgame, he decides to message the council. The higher-ups explicitly ordered him to stall this kid's operation for as long as humanly possible, but with his kid on her deathbed, his hands were tied. I just hope the bosses let it slide, that I picked my family over pure payback. He panics internally. Speeding away from Bernardin Terminal, the train zooms down the tracks. Inside his private car, Julian is gripping a small container. Letting out a massive sigh of relief that he actually bagged the monster's core, he carefully pops the lid open. An absolutely insane vibe hits him instantly. The magical gem inside is just radiating pure, ridiculous energy. Gazing at the rock, he debates his next move. Handing it over to the Dawn crew would definitely lock in their loyalty forever. Then again, this kind of loot might have way better uses. Suddenly, the speakers blare, announcing their arrival at Rondrian Terminal. Seeing a massive crowd boarding the carriage, the teen quickly realizes he needs to stash the prize somewhere secure. The sharp click of heels echoes down the aisle, before a super classy girl claims the empty seat right beside him. She stares at him with her jaw practically dropped, totally stunned. Julian locks eyes with Rena, looking equally caught off guard. Snapping the lid shut in a panic, Julian makes sure she did not catch a glimpse. If Hayden ever caught wind of this, the fallout would be legendary. Lugging around literal monster parts for no reason is just way too sketchy. Shoving the container behind his luggage, he chuckles. Guess the universe really wants us hanging out, huh? The rich girl kept staring at her spot, totally shook. Probably guessing why I'm crashing here. Yeah, he smirks, and she totally nods. The fighter mentions he just finished a whole gig in Bernardin. He playfully teases that the swordswoman looked like she just came back from a wild vacation, gesturing at a shirt spilling from her bag. Back off, Julian. Rena snaps. He just cracks up, feeling totally safe. Guess she completely missed his stash. But then the girl snaps his name, totally wrecking his chill vibe. Vibes are weird. The elite girl glares, while he tightly masks his panic. He asks what her damage is. She points out this random meetup is mad sus, questioning if he is literally creeping on her. Breathing easier, he clarifies he didn't even grab the pass himself. The royal front office literally booked it all. Honestly, maybe you're the one obsessing over me, our hero teases, making the girl absolutely freak out. Sweating a bit, the fighter decides to stash the container somewhere way more secure. He was literally regretting unpacking that thing just knowing she'd show up. So, anyway, you're like super obsessed with that container, huh? Rena drops, giving him serious side-eye. Our main guy internally panics right at her call-out. She points out he's been low-key fidgeting with the package forever. The dude suddenly gets she's been hardcore staring, literally just holds accessories. The lead deflects with a fake chuckle. The high-class girl isn't buying it. Still in your shiny rock era, huh? The girl teases. Rumor is you crafted a fresh blade, literally using just gems. Bling is literally life. He fires back with a huge grin. Out of nowhere, the whole railcar aggressively jerks, yeeting the package from his grip. A pissed-off Julian questions the random halt. The intercom blasts that their trip is officially on pause because of some crazy sudden weather. The relic completely spills out, sliding right to her sneakers. Homeboy just freezes, knowing his whole stealth mission just failed hard. The elite girl carefully inspects the sketchy rock. Rena disses how beat up the gem looks, roasting his supposed top-tier care routine. Then she just passes it right back. Our guy is shook. She didn't even clock it as a magic stone. Shaking, the fighter mutters a thanks and hides it again. They just vibe about the exhausting trip while Julian's pulse is still absolutely racing from that near miss. He claims hanging with him sucked, but the dude is genuinely glad he wasn't bored to tears on the ride. A staff member bows, telling the girl her private cart is literally ready. The elite girl suddenly stops him from dipping. What's up? Our main guy responds, fighting back his totally anxious vibes. Blushing hardcore, she drops a thank you for that village drama. Not saying this as Ren or Ronbell, but strictly as a blade main. Julian chuckles, telling her to chill on the gratitude since they're literally just fighter trainees. You literally got kicked out, she snaps. Ouch. So ruthless. Bestie, the fighter replies, spinning around to bounce. Let's roll, she orders the staff. So, was Bernardan a total vibe? Odwin checks in. Definitely wouldn't call it a sleigh. The lead snickers. Also, why is there literally a forest of documents here? He sarcastically adds. It's giving endless homework. Seems like you had the real party. Huh, boss. The guy smirks darkly. Why do you think my desk is a disaster zone? She screams, raging. Just procrastinating? Julian cackles. She screams that he's the absolute problem, demanding why on earth he torched the docks and the woods. Playing it off, the dude jokes that crazy situations just need crazy chaotic energy. Literally regret asking. The boss groans. Basically, the Sun Church sent all this spam because they obsessed over those woods, though the Royal Squad is thankfully doing damage control. Still, Julian needs a reality check, that she cleans up his messy heiress. Exactly why I pulled that stunt. The teen grins. Groaning, she drags the messy stack closer, mentioning he's got some mail, including school stuff. Baffled, the boss eyes an envelope with a super weird stamp. Wait, this is from Girl Monastery? She mumbles, totally lost. Julian is so annoyed, literally shocked that Aurora would manage his gig this way. Odwin admits them, hating him makes sense, but sliding a direct letter is just doing way too much. Spill it. What's your deal here? The boss demands, looking dead serious. He freezes, while she completely loses it over the Aurora Society screwing up this badly. Suddenly, a guard kicks the door wide open, screaming Julian's name. The panicked guard blurts out that the secretary's crew is demanding a full rundown of the whole Bernardan situation. Looking absolutely terrified, the guy scrambles backward and stammers a quick apology for busting in on the captain. Grab this stuff and bail, Julian, Odwin orders, shoving some envelopes into his hands. Catch you later, Cap. Our hero smirks as he heads out. Once outside, some hyper kid rushes up, begging to know if he seriously soloed that monster all on his own. Honestly, after snagging that sketchy message from the Dawn Society, a random monster was basically zero stress. He waves the kid off to finally check the mysterious note in peace. But the second his eyes hit the page, his jaw totally drops. At first glance, it looked super basic, but staring closer, a literal snake made of dark ink suddenly jumps right off the parchment. The big boss wants a word with Bishop Julian. The weird magical reptile hisses. He instantly spots Eleanor's signature magic trick. Probably just wants me to drop off that monster horn, our guy figures, casually swatting the ink beast away. The crazy part though, the captain and the top Imperial officials were the only ones who actually knew his schedule. Clearly, he needs to seriously watch his back from now on. Cut to the Grand Cathedral, where everyone is awkwardly side-eyeing the brooding teen in the corner. He absolutely despises being the center of attention like this. Breaking the tension, a sister walks up and greets him warmly. Long time no see. Sure has been a minute, Eleanor, he grins back. This vibe was getting way too creepy for me. People won't stop gossiping about your crazy stunt in Bernardan, the magic user points out, right as her entire disguise melts away. She brings up the wild story of him soloing a beast with 3 horns and torching the whole Piran Woods, begging for the exclusive tea straight from the source. Wow, color me impressed, Bishop, but seriously. The fighter sighs, digging through his pockets. Maybe skip sending me this exact type of creepy mail next time? You're basically painting a giant target on my back. He snaps, flashing the note while giving her an absolutely lethal glare. She claps back that the spell was strictly invisible to others. But our guy isn't playing those odds. Well then, how exactly are we supposed to chat? The chick demands. He casually pitches the idea of just dropping by to talk in person. Drop by my place? She repeats, totally caught off guard. Trying to play it cool, he's gotta be faking it, right? There is literally zero chance this dude figured out her massive secret. Brushing past her, our hero strolls straight into the main hall. Bishop Julian, about time you showed up. Been missing you like crazy, the top boss yells out, hyped, immediately demanding to check out that sweet monster horn. Our guy just flashes an incredibly toxic smirk. Yeah, about that loot. Didn't bring it, he chuckles darkly. Wait, so the beast didn't actually have 3 horns? The masked dude asks, completely baffled. He nods, confirming it absolutely did. And yeah, the magical core was totally inside it. Okay, so where the heck is it then? The head honcho snaps, losing his cool. The whole crew just stares blankly at the rookie. Without missing a single beat, he casually drops that he handed it straight to the Imperial office. Come again? You did what? Tenelron stammers, mind blown. You heard me perfectly, boss. I dropped that ultra-rare loot right at the royal government's doorstep. He grins. Instantly, crazy dark energy starts radiating off the leader's fists. Absolutely raging. The boss screams at the team to justify this insane move right now. Think of it as losing a battle to win the whole freaking war. The kid chuckles, 0% intimidated by the deadly aura. The rest of the cult loses their minds, screaming over his massive betrayal. Are you guys seriously that dense? Our hero sighs, shaking his head at the whole room. If I was actually stabbing you in the back, do you honestly think I'd just waltz back into this room? He quickly breaks down his master plan to farm some hardcore intel. This is literally the very first high-tier monster core those snobby elites have ever gotten their hands on. The second they taste that kind of magic, they'll be obsessed with finding more. Ah, okay. That's actually kinda genius, the head boss mutters, finally chilling out. But is that really a good enough excuse to just toss away my prize item? The commander challenges, eyes literally blazing with fury. Instinctively, the teen senses the entire squad behind him charging up their killer moves. Busting out laughing, Julian smoothly pivots, teasing that there's obviously a way bigger brain play happening here. He points out the insane hype blowing up right now about some legendary solo player, the Blind Eye's chosen one, the ultimate sword heir, basically a walking myth. He smirks. I've got the whole world watching my every move now, including your worst enemies. Don't you want to see exactly who takes the bait? The teen mocks, with a devious grin. The cultists completely lose it, screaming that he's totally capping. Are we seriously doing this right now? He taunts, slowly sliding his blade from its sheath. Love the energy. Bring it on then. Julian dares them, his weapon pulsing with sick magical energy. Stand down. The grand boss roars at the mob. Who exactly are you talking about, kid? He demands. Without even looking, our guy effortlessly blocks a super cheap shot from behind. Exploiting their sloppy mistake, he channels his aura and instantly blasts the attacker away. The dude is literally hacking his lungs out on the floor, while our fighter just stands there, totally chilling without a scratch. Turning to the boss, the kid's like, want the tea? I'll spill it. He drops the bomb that Julian's mentor, the legendary holy sword guy Hayden Reich, is definitely hunting down his apprentice. The archbishop is practically glowing with pure rage right now. Our guy totally spots how name-dropping the Dawn Society's beef with the holy sword left the boss super confused. Pure magical energy just completely fills up the space when Tenelron starts screaming. Yeah, the absolute jerk who ruined my face, he throws in. That dude is totally onto me too. The holy guy points out how weird it looks to wreck the 3-horned demon, but still come back with 0 loot. Oh, it all makes sense now. The syndicate boss yells, literally leaping up. That absolute snake doesn't even trust his own student. So, our fighter and the head priest decide to team up. Bonding over their massive grudge against Hayden totally seals the deal. The priest admits it finally clicks why he signed up with this crew in the first place. Love that we're on the same page, Julian breathes out, super relieved. Later, our main guy is just fidgeting nervously at his workspace. He realizes he probably just scored a brief timeout. If he can somehow play the Dawn Society and the Royals against each other, He actually has a shot at surviving this whole crazy game, but hold up, he has one major chore to handle first. Confronting the creepy stalker tailing his every move. Honestly, it didn't feel like a big deal in the beginning, but our guy gets this sinking feeling as the days drag on. Things are getting way too sketchy for comfort. He lets out a huge breath, actually pretty glad he figured out his stalker's identity. A random kid barges in to drop off a government letter, totally killing Julian's vibe. Just toss it on the desk, he tells him, keeping it super chill. The teen gingerly sets the paperwork down. Just as he turns to bounce, our main dude stops him in his tracks. Lazarus, you've been grinding hard lately. Blame the higher-ups, the kid stutters, looking totally stressed. Being a rookie is literally non-stop chores. Julian hits back, saying that is way too much heavy lifting for just a basic intern. Get this, it's the exact same dude who rushed that intel to the boss the second our fighter got back from his quest. Totally true, boss. I just really wanted to know about that magic rock. The kid stammers out. Oh, really? Our guy smirks. The hero casually points out how wild it is that a low-level rookie even knows that top-secret gem exists. The kid tries to play dumb, but Julian literally just dropped the gem's name for the first time, and the rookie didn't even flinch. Busted. The only folks who even knew this rock was real were the royals, that secret cult, and me. The sword guy presses on. Lazarus absolutely panics, his chill completely vanishing. Our main dude breaks it down, saying the vibes were off from day one. Like, why is a random kid handling all these ultra-important missions? Especially for an intern, Julian whispers, sounding seriously scary right now, while grabbing the kid's shoulder. There is literally no way you'd pull that off, unless those cult members had insiders in the palace, right? The fighter asks with a creepy grin. The hero spins around and instantly shifts to a super casual vibe, telling the kid to take a breath because he's not gonna beat him up. I literally just want to chat. Wait, seriously? The kid stutters. So I can finally drop the whole fake act? Lazarus pulls off this necklace, and the violet gem on it instantly floods the whole room with wild magical energy. The dude stands up super straight, glaring right through our main guy. Wait, were you using mind control on me? You totally changed your vibe, the fighter notices. Yeah, I couldn't pull off this undercover look without this magic charm, the kid admits. If we aren't gonna throw hands right now, what's your deal? Lazarus snaps. Staying totally chill, our guy claims he just wants one tiny favor. How about you come work for my side? The mastermind chuckles. Bro, what are you even trying to say? The spy squints at him, super suspicious. Long story short, you're gonna be my personal mole. Julian shrugs. Wait, like a double agent? The kid freaks out, totally terrified by the idea. He starts interrogating Julian, mind blown that he's actually trying to backstab the secret society. Bro, quit capping. The fighter laughs out loud. I'm literally just trying to hold all the cards here. The kid snaps, yelling if Julian honestly thinks he's that easy to buy off. But obviously, our genius lead wasn't expecting charity. Dropping his voice to a crazy, scary level, the guy whispers, word on the street is you've been sending cash to elder care centers a lot. The teen completely freezes up when Julian drops the exact dollar amount of his secret charity funds. Seems like that place means a lot to you. Huh? Our guy smirks. Julian just chuckles, casually mentioning how much of a total tragedy it would be if a little accident happened to that building. Lazarus shoots him the dirtiest look imaginable. The fighter just cracks up, swearing it was a total joke and telling him to chill out. He makes a deal. If the spy actually helps him out, Julian will drop some massive funding into that care center. Wait, a massive amount? The kid definitely looks tempted now. Yeah, I'm suddenly feeling super generous today. The hero laughs, totally thrown off. The spy just stands there staring at him without a word. Fast forward a couple of days after that crazy chat, one of the Aurora squad members pulls Lazarus aside. Yo, did you grab the stuff we asked for? Yeah. Bishop Aiden, he mutters, passing the letter over. The official scans the note, spotting exactly where Hayden Reich is heading next. At the same time, the kid brings up some petition the elders drafted, but the noble shuts him down fast. He calls it useless and orders the guy to report their find to the archbishop as soon as possible. The boy just ducks his head and nods. You look awful, kid, the man points out. Catching the soldier's weird vibe, the bishop demands to know what went down. Lazarus totally zones out, scrambling for an excuse. The secret agent silently prays Aurora can keep him and Sister Turnia safe. Julian swore he'd back her orphanage. Completely torn, the kid keeps his mouth shut tight. Annoyed, the noble snaps at him, jolting him back to reality. Freaking out, the boy yells that absolutely nothing happened. Crisp, graceful footsteps ring out down the hall. Julian's crew greets him the second he walks through the door. Someone grabs his coat, but he's miles away. The warrior seriously can't stop replaying today's crazy events. I was way too sloppy with Lazarus. Sion stresses. He knows that if the kid actually paid attention, his cover would be totally blown. Our guy never meant to pull something so sketchy. Playing the role of Julian is seriously messing with his head. The maid drops the news that a letter came from his family. Piqued, he asks her what it says. Turns out his big sis, Runa Kryart, is tying the knot and wants him at the wedding. Without missing a beat, the swordsman claims work is too crazy to attend. The maid nods, promising to send his regrets. Out of nowhere, he stops her. He completely flipped his script. He's going. His assistant says she'll get his outfit ready. I'll grab that sparkly pink suit you always rock, she tells him. Maybe let's go for something classy? He cringes, hiding his total disgust. He decides to just hit up a tailor himself. Enter the White Ornament House, literally the bougiest boutique in town. The whole staff freezes, totally spooked by the legendary swordsman. Meanwhile, he's just mind-blown by how many insanely different clothes are stuffed in there. Sweating bullets. Our hero debates begging for help. Let's be real. Both Sion and Julian have zero fashion sense. Can somebody help me find a fit? He asks, accidentally sounding like a supervillain despite trying to be nice. The ladies totally panic and start apologizing profusely. Suddenly, he's standing alone. Over in another aisle, a worker welcomes Eileen. She also hit up the exact same spot looking for a fancy outfit. The mage is completely burned out from campus drama. She complains about almost getting fired because some jerk hoarded all the local moonstone. But then the Imperial Court threw her a bone, begging her to research this brand new thing called spirit stones. Totally hyped, the professor brags about how this will make her research paper absolutely god tier. The clerk asks about her vibe for the dress, and she mentions she's heading to a wedding. Runa Kryart's big day, specifically. The worker guides her toward the gowns. Finally catching a break, Eileen lets out a massive sigh of relief. She's just thrilled to ditch work for a minute. Starstruck, she browses through racks of crazy expensive fabrics. Out of nowhere, she stops dead in her tracks. Is that Julian? Panicking, she instantly ducks out of sight. Swear, I just saw someone. The warrior mutters to himself, turning his attention back to the suits. Why did I even duck? The noblewoman thinks, her heart still totally racing. Shook, the mage remembers that even if he's from a side branch, her old coworker is still technically family. Why is he even looking at nice clothes? Julian usually dresses like an absolute clown. Cringing, she judges his insanely bad taste from afar. Our guy just keeps browsing, convinced he just scored the ultimate fit. She can already picture him completely wrecking the wedding aesthetic with that trash outfit. A random kid runs by yelling, "Mom, look at that weird lady." Embarrassed, Eileen hypes herself up and steps out to confront him. She seriously asks if he's planning to wear that. Crazy running into you. He smirks. Figured you only cared about dusty old books. She fires back, claiming he clearly doesn't get how formal wear works, since his usual wardrobe is straight garbage. When he asks what her deal is, she instantly claps back, asking if he's acting stupid on purpose. Or maybe you just hate the Kryarts, she scoffs. And this is your way of declaring war on the nobles. Our dude is just totally baffled by her rant. Wait, this outfit has a hidden meaning? Julian is completely clueless. Rolling her eyes, the mage spins the shirt around and points straight at a massive crest on the back. She explains that's the exact crest the warrior family rocks right before they execute their enemies. Laughing it off, Eileen mentions that even though it's just meant to look edgy nowadays, tossing that gear on a runaway like him would be pure comedy. But since Sue never actually mained Julian, he was totally clueless. Getting sick of outfit hunting and knowing his avatar is a total diva for flashy stuff, Julian just throws his hands up. He settles for plan B. But when he whips out this blindingly sparkly fit, Eileen looks utterly horrified and straight up asks if he is seriously wearing that trash. She steps right up to him, declaring a total fashion emergency. Swearing on her artsy family's reputation, she vows to fix his disastrous wardrobe herself. He tags along, super stoked to finally get a stylist. They nail down a solid look, and boom, wedding day drops. The bouncer practically shakes while grabbing his invite, sweating bullets as he stammers out a confirmation. Our guy strolls into the venue looking sharp as hell. Deep down though, Sihu is cringing, and Julian absolutely hates being there. Our main guy wouldn't have shown up either if he didn't have a massive hidden motive. The Kryart clan hoards insanely broken spirit rocks. You can barely snag them in-game, but crashing this event is one giant loophole. Julian's dad guards one of those gems, and just thinking about the guy is enough to make him want to puke. He glides into the grand hall, looking flawless. Instantly, the band cuts off, and the entire crowd just freezes, visibly terrified. Did they seriously kill the track just for me? Talk about overkill, he thinks, forcing an incredibly awkward smirk. The room is gawking like he is a ghost. Suddenly, a girl in a white gown sprints over and tackles him. It is Renea. Completely hyped her bro showed up. The bride gives a super bubbly wave, gushing about how it feels like forever since they last hung out. Seeing anyone act this sweet to Julian is honestly wild. After letting go, his sister spots Eileen and gives her a warm hello. She chirps about how crazy it is that they are friends, considering they don't even share the same academic year. That hits Julian like a truck. He completely spaced on the fact that they were in totally different grades back at school. Her eyes light up as she teases him, saying she is relieved he actually wore a crisp fit instead of his usual clown show outfits. You could literally feel the mage glaring daggers from across the room. She stared him down, absolutely waiting for her styling shout-out. He plays it cool, claiming it was a major event, so he went completely out of his way to pick out something fresh. The bride caught Eileen's totally unimpressed side-eye and got confused, while Renea just beamed and thanked them both for dropping by. Suddenly, some guy yells for her from across the floor. Enter Joshua Kryart, storming over like he owns the whole place. She spins around all smiles to greet her other sibling, but he violently snatches her wrist without warning. Gripping her tight, he snaps, demanding to know why she is embarrassing them by hyping up side branch losers at a VIP event. I was literally just happy they showed up, she fires back, ripping her arm free. Maybe try saying hi to your older bro for once. Absolutely raging, he screams back, totally denying they were even related. And there it is, the exact toxic vibe Julian was waiting for. Joshua demands to know why this side branch extra is crashing when he is barely blood. Chuckling, our main guy casually points out he literally just responded to an official invite. The angry bro straight up rips the letter out of his hands and shreds it into confetti. The whole room goes dead silent, watching the drama. Shooting him a totally murderous look, he snarls that the main family has a direct message for the fighter. Kick rocks. And what if I don't feel like it? Julian completely taunts him, pushing the raging kid to draw his blade, screaming about making an example of him. The steel rings out. Watch what happens to side character trash when they cross me, he spits out, his unhinged glare reflecting right off the shiny metal. Joshua Kryart, main family energy. This dude was literally the biggest menace back at Academy 5. He would start turf wars, dunk on freshmen, and totally wreck classes if the teacher lacked noble status. Everyone was way too scared to check him. Screaming across the room, he dares the Imperial lapdog to step up. Julian just cracks a tiny smile at the pure disrespect, honestly debating if this kid is just brave or incredibly brain-dead to flex on one of the top-tier fighters in the entire realm. Julian blitzes him way faster than his little bro can even process, closing the gap in a flash. Before anyone can even blink, he has Joshua by the wrist, completely crushing the guy's arm with pure grip strength. Dialing up the pressure, Julian growls about him having the absolute audacity to hurt Reina, proving real family would never act like that. The whole room is dead quiet except for Joshua's blade hitting the tiles. Julian gets right in his face, calling him an absolute embarrassment. Suddenly, Heron barks at them to knock it off immediately. Julian claps back, asking if he is supposed to just let Renea get pushed around. But Heron gestures to the massive crowd staring, basically telling him to read the room. Taking the opening, the little bro yanks his arm free and starts screaming that Heron is right, acting all fake outraged about causing a scene at the venue. Heron shuts Joshua down, telling him to stop embarrassing them since he literally started the drama anyway. The guy completely freezes up, finally realizing how incredibly cringe he's acting. Harand angrily adds that he's stepping in for their dad, and Joshua's behavior is totally unacceptable. Siwoo takes a second to process that. Wait, so their dad isn't even here? Well, snatching that spirit stone just got basically impossible. He's super bummed out, thinking this whole trip was a massive waste of time. Julian says sorry for the mess and checks on Renea. She beams with pride, saying it's chill since he had her back. She tries brushing it off, but Julian hints they really need to bounce. A confused Renea asks why. He shoots back that he knows when to exit, then turns around to thank Lady Eileen. With a smile, he bows and hypes up her flawless fashion sense, saying her impeccable taste perfectly honors her noble family. Suddenly, a total blast from the past hits the lady. She remembers him hyping up the clothes like they were woven with literal stars. He had called it a magical fit meant for Adon. Deep emotions flood the mage's mind, forcing the professor to reminisce about their epic history together. Julian takes his cue to ditch the palace, but a voice suddenly shouts his name from far away. He spots Rainier sprinting over, totally winded. She complains about his fast walking while trying to hand him something. Gasping for air, she demands the truth, asking if he literally only crashed this wedding to see their dad. Right after, Renea whips out this tiny jewelry box and passes it over. She says it's a special keepsake from their mom, totally aware of the massive fights he had with their dad over it. Julian nods, low-key wondering if he scared their dad off. Meanwhile, Siwoo is totally shocked to hear Julian's mom actually died. Renea admits she completely snuck the item out just so he could have it. She insists their dad would flip, but letting it gather dust was tragic. The guy gently pops the box open. Inside sits a glowing spirit gem. Julian instantly vibes that it's magically purified, totally free of any dark, demonic energy. Siwoo, meanwhile, is losing his mind over how completely clueless he is about this body he possessed. Julian gives his sister the sweetest thank you. Renea confidently smiles, knowing giving it back was 100% right. She giggles, saying he's never looked this genuinely happy. They both crack up, since these siblings literally never get along like this. Rena waves goodbye, begging him to visit soon, and he totally promises to return. Our main guy turns and finally bails from the palace. Siwoo is still shook that the legendary family stone was literally his mom's inheritance. He totally gulps, a huge lump forming in his throat. A single tear drops down his cheek. Wow, this tough guy actually has emotions. Then, a carriage starts racing through the forest. Our hero was completely mind-blown that someone as icy as Julian had feelings, wondering if the dude still had a heart. He straight up bursts into laughter. Even with all that insane drama, he actually scored exactly what he wanted. Like, who on earth expects to randomly bag a spirit stone like that? Siwoo was seriously stressing about what to do with this insanely overpowered item, since handing it to Aurora or the royals felt super wrong. Out of nowhere, he remembers a totally neglected skill his character had, something he literally never tried before. The Demon King's vessel. It lets him suck up ancient relics, carrying the monster's energy to get insanely buffed. Basically, he could literally consume spirit stones. He laughed, realizing how wild it would be if he just morphed into the Demon King himself. Still, pretending to be Julian full-time was seriously killing his vibe. The ride through the woods stayed super chill, and he safely locked up that fancy little box. Our guy was honestly low-key terrified, holding on to something so overpowered, figuring he desperately needed to learn a protection spell for it. After all that crazy fighting and drama, he could finally catch a break. The mansion was still dead silent and perfectly untouched. Out of nowhere, a massive chill hit his spine, literally making him launch right off the couch. He instantly felt the mana vibes in the room get completely messed up. He scrambled to pinpoint the weird energy, but then panicked, realizing a sloppy move meant the intruder would totally sense him back. Breathing a huge sigh of relief over not feeling any killer vibes, he kept hunting for whatever was causing that weird magic. Walking inside, he finds a blue-haired, purple-eyed girl casually sipping tea. She puts down her mug and smirks, saying, "Well, look who it is. Julian." Ella Laner just giggled, roasting him for taking absolutely forever. She claimed she was super bored waiting and basically demanded the maids bring her tea. "Aren't you going to offer your guest a drink?" the sorceress teased with a smirk. Meanwhile, our guy was just low-key panicking about how she even snuck inside. He was dead set on the idea that she had totally brainwashed the house staff using some kind of charm spell. "Bishop Ella Laner, why exactly are you crashing my place?" he sighed, taking a seat. She casually brushed it off as just two co-workers catching up. Julian was practically fuming at her whole vibe. "Look, I actually have a motive for dropping by," she finally admitted. "We've got an issue to fix," she noted, putting her tea down before bringing up his latest village run, where he wrecked that demon. He gave a quick nod. That thing was basically in human form, right? The girl pushed for details. Right then, our hero totally clicked. She was testing him to see what he actually knew about people mutating into monsters. "Spot on, Eleanor," he replied with a wave of his hand. Some random dude literally just morphed out of nowhere. But Julian made sure to mention that those classic horned freaks were completely different from the crazy stuff he just fought. Totally shook, the magic user begged him to run that back. He clarified that the monster felt like a super cheap knockoff of an actual demon. She grilled him on his overall knowledge of the whole mutation thing, but our guy straight up confessed he was pretty clueless. Offering a quick bow, she decided they had totally done enough chatting for one afternoon. With major sarcasm, our hero asked if her little interrogation was successful. She admitted she got what she needed and scrapped the rest of his evaluation. "Looks like you actually get how the Aurora Society operates," the bishop threw over her shoulder as she spun around. "So, you know your next move." Zero reason for us to throw hands. And with that dramatic exit, she just walked right out of his place. Julian literally dropped to the floor, breathing out a massive sigh. It hit him hard. He either had to go all in with Aurora or completely bail on them forever. Knowing his crib was seriously compromised now, our boy realized he had to make some major moves as soon as possible. Bro, are you absolutely positive you want me holding on to this? Heron asked, looking super lost. He totally thought Julian showed up just to wreck Joshua for acting out, but our guy just cracked up, brushing the whole drama off. Dying to know, the younger sibling asked what kind of secret stash was hiding inside that box. The dude absolutely freaked when he realized it was their mom's inheritance. Have you completely lost your mind? He shrieked. You're seriously dumping Lady Melina's keepsake on me? But Julian already knew his brother wouldn't dare mess up with that precious stone. Honestly, the young lord was the absolute best guy to guard it. Heron just stood there clutching the container, totally shell-shocked by the massive weight of this duty. Honestly, it's way more secure crashing with you for the time being, our hero explained. His sibling just froze up, totally tripping out over why Julian would hand over something carrying so much heavy emotional baggage about their mom. The guy was convinced that pulling a stunt like this meant the warrior was getting way too tangled up in the Empire's messy politics. Julian just gave him a weird look while he kept yapping to himself. Meanwhile, it had been days, and Joshua was still nursing that busted arm. His own flesh and blood had practically snapped it in half back at the wedding reception. A servant girl timidly walked up to swap his bandages, but Joshua just barked at her to hurry up. The dude was literally seething, completely mind-blown by the audacity of a side branch kid. Even as an illegitimate kid, Julian still managed to score that iconic silver hair from the main Kryart bloodline, and Joshua was absolutely sick of his half-brother acting so cocky. When the guy had lunged at him, Joshua literally froze, totally outclassed by his insane speed. He didn't even have time to throw a punch before realizing he was utterly wrecked. Suddenly, a random water droplet smacked the arrogant noble right in the face. The poor maid started stammering out apologies, literally shaking in her boots. She was so petrified she couldn't even reach out to dry it off. Dropping to her knees, she practically sobbed for her life. The angry rich kid jumped up, ready to slap her across the room, but a sudden voice totally killed his momentum. You rang, boss? I'm here, Alphas announced out of nowhere, serving as the dude's private bodyguard and literal second-in-command of the Blue Line squad. Joshua just flicked his wrist, signaling the terrified girl to sprint away before he got violent again. Shoving his cast in the soldier's face, he started screaming about how the guy failed to protect a VIP from the core family. The knight desperately tried to defend himself, claiming the head of the house gave him strict orders, but the brat just screamed right over him. Your one freaking job is keeping the pureblood Kryats safe. His boss threw a total tantrum. Alphas just swallowed his pride and mumbled a quick sorry. Meanwhile, the spoiled brat kept raging, swearing that a trash-tier fighter like him would be completely unemployable anywhere else. Spinning around, Joshua roasted the guy, saying he wouldn't have had the guts to step up even if he was in the room anyway. Scooping up a soaking wet rag, the angry teen whipped it directly at his bodyguard's face. Out of breath, he told him to shut his mouth, spitting that sorries from a total loser were completely useless. Keeping his cool, the seasoned fighter finally looked the kid in the eye. The bodyguard casually asked if the rich kid was craving some payback against Julian. Hooked instantly, Joshua demanded to know how, and Alphas promised him a solution if he kept quiet about the sketchy methods. The knight made it super clear that even top-tier fighters would get absolutely crushed by the insane magical energy his half-brother was packing. Literally, every fighter wished they could charge their blade with magic like Julian did. Cut to the chase, the kid demanded. The guard smirked, pointing out that stripping a fighter of their main edge makes them completely useless. Slowly, the guard slipped a mysterious relic out from under his gear. He held up a shattered soul gem, warning that the relic totally failed to hold back the crystal's dark, cursed energy. He tossed the enchanted item to the kid. The sheer pressure radiating from the gem instantly made Joshua stumble. Alphas broke it down. This specific relic completely shuts down a person's magical energy. Furious, the kid clapped back, pointing out that the guard would also be fighting totally magic-free. Chuckle, the guard stepped closer. You won't even need magic to crush me with this, he bragged, holding out a literal demon horn to the royal. Back at his massive estate, Julian was chilling with his orchids. Indulging in a hobby he actually liked was his ultimate stress relief. But those chill vibes vanished the second Lazarth kicked the doors open, screaming about an Aurora hit squad coming for him. The swordsman just let out a pained laugh at his ruined alone time, accidentally snapping one of his favorite flowers in shock. Swallowing his rage, Our main guy begged the frantic dude to dial it back to his normal self so they could actually chat. Julian totally brushed off the danger with a chuckle, claiming a sneak attack was basically a joke, and guessing the bishops weren't behind it. The informant wanted to play it safe, but the royal thought it'd be way more entertaining to just watch their haters scheme. The informant just stared blankly, completely mind-blown by that reckless choice. Our hero took a deep breath, fighting the massive urge to literally yeet the guy out the closest window for ruining his vibe. Instead, he smoothly pivoted, asking if his buddy was into gardening. Lazarus just blinked in utter confusion as the dude launched into a whole speech about flowers. Our guy casually yanked up a stem, chuckling as he pointed out a totally decayed root hiding underneath. Luckily, it hasn't spread too far, the fighter noted. The poor informant was racking his brain trying to decode this weird metaphor. Jumping on the silence, the spy brought up the hero's teaching gig at the school, casually dropping news about an upcoming massive council bash. The second he realized Hayden would be attending, Julian's eyes totally lit up. In a wild twist, our guy played it cool, opting out of the drama and just agreeing to show up for his teaching shift. Hearing that, Lazarus practically dropped his jaw in sheer disbelief. Was the boss actually planning to use the council's distraction to completely blindside the Aurora? The spy started low-key panicking. Since everyone knew he'd be at the training hall, he could totally flip the script and launch a counterstrike on his attackers. The informant stressed hard over the risks. But honestly, without even trying, Julian was flexing some seriously insane tactical genius. Totally rattled, the older guy forced a smile while practically dripping buckets of nervous sweat. Julian, meanwhile, flashed this super chill, cocky grin. Mopping his forehead, the stressed guy admitted he never thought the legendary Blade Master would actually show up. With the massive victory celebration just around the corner, everyone assumed the dude was swamped. Glowing with this weird purple energy, the older guy stumbled through his sentences before finally blurting out how hyped the kids were for Julian's upcoming class. Julian was officially locked in to host an exclusive masterclass. Freaking out, the guy asked if our hero was totally out of the loop. The dark-haired guy just shut his eyes, processing the news. He played it cool, claiming he was totally ready for it, but internally, Sihu was absolutely losing his mind. He never pictured himself actually teaching anyone. A bit later, inside the main lecture hall of Academy 5, this blonde chick leaned over to Rena, whispering that the VIP speaker was running behind. Rena sighed in pure relief, admitting she barely made it on time herself. Completely drained from going way too hard in practice, she secretly planned to just sleep through the whole presentation. Her bestie totally clocked the heavy bags under her eyes and called her out. Rena shrugged, thankful it was just a boring talk where she could zone out. They started gossiping, betting today's speaker was probably some random nobody instead of the usual elite Shut-Eyes members. Suddenly, the mic crackles at the front, announcing that the VIP has officially entered the building. The second the crowd actually gets a look at the guy, the entire vibe in the room shifts completely. Rena's buddy literally gasps out loud, screaming that it's actually one of the elite Shut-Eyes. Half asleep and totally out of it, Rena squints at the stage, and her jaw drops when she realizes the dude stepping up to the podium is freaking Julian. The legend himself grabs the mic, smoothly announcing that he's super honored to be taking over today's class. The moment it clicks in her brain, Rena's eyes go massive, staring like she just witnessed an actual ghost. Catching the dead silent panic spreading through the rows, our hero chuckles and tells the terrified kids to seriously just chill out. He makes it clear he's just dropping in for a quick chat as the judge for their upcoming practical exam. Plus, he drops the bomb that his lesson won't be anything mind-blowing, leaving the whole class totally lost. Kicking things off, Julian throws out a simple question. Why do they even swing swords? Cue the awkward, dead silence. Figuring it'd be a solid icebreaker, he switches gears and puts Miss Renee right on the spot. Thrown off by the weird question, she barely bites her tongue before snapping at him like she normally does. Even though she literally despises the guy, he's the guest speaker today, so she's gotta play nice. Flipping the script, she smoothly asks why he wields a blade. Without missing a beat, Julian claims he's just in it for the clout and power. That totally catches Rena off guard. She fully expected some fake PR answer about serving the royals. Bouncing back, she claims she's just leveling up her mind and body to reach her ultimate goals, even though she's secretly just out for pure revenge. Julian claps back with praise, revealing his question wasn't just small talk. He admits that whatever sword tricks he could show them wouldn't even hold a candle to the real-life experiences they already have. On top of that, there's zero chance he could give them a massive skill boost in such a tight time frame. So, ditching the sword talk, he shifts the whole vibe to auras. Ray keeps her poker face locked in. Deep down, though, She's absolutely hyped to get the inside scoop on this from him. Everyone's wired with aura paths to buff their bodies or gear, making it the ultimate cheat sheet for sizing up power levels. Flashing a smirk, he challenges the class to guess what color his energy is radiating right then. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces click for Rina. She finally gets what he meant about power gaps between fighters. The crowd starts mumbling that it's gray, until one random voice cuts through, calling out silver. The girl doubles down on her answer with total confidence and drops an extra detail. There's a second shade like cobalt. The dude is literally dual-wielding aura colors right in front of them. The silver glow is wrapped around his scabbard, while the cobalt energy is totally focused in his palm. Reading an aura basically shows you exactly how outmatched you are. She had been grinding non-stop just to catch up to his level. Hyping up the drama, Julian drops a plot twist. There's actually a third color hiding in plain sight. That completely floors Rina, leaving her totally mute, as Julian points out that literally nobody caught the last shade. If the person you're fighting can't even track your energy, it means they are leagues below you. Basically, you could probably wipe the floor with them. Chewing her nail, Rina gets hit with reality. She's been way too cocky and needs serious leveling up. The second the class wraps up, Julian starts getting major props for his talk. The whole squad actually vibed with the lesson, which is crazy for a random guest speaker. Looking a bit stressed, the principal walks over and confesses he was sweating over how the lesson would play out. Julian totally owns it, agreeing that nobody pictured him as a teacher. But since he killed it, the principal officially puts him in charge of the practicals. Once the boss dips out, Julian figures it's his cue to bounce as well. Pausing for a sec, he realizes this exact corridor was in the game. Nostalgic flashbacks start hitting him out of nowhere. Totally random boss titles start spamming his brain: Black Knight, Forgotten Hero, The Fallen Star, Hayden Rich. Squinting hard, Julian scrambles to connect the dots on the Black Knight and suddenly visualizes the promo clip where the Holy Swordsman gets straight up murdered. He swears to himself that there's no way he's letting that tragic ending go down on his watch. Cut to Julian's crib, where someone is aggressively drumming their fingers on the couch. Joshua was tired of waiting around. Killing time. He scanned the place, low-key weirded out by the incredibly bizarre statues scattered everywhere. He completely gave up on decoding Julian's chaotic aesthetic, let alone figuring out why the living room looked like a literal jungle. Out of nowhere, a kid walks up, telling the young boss that the custom shield was locked and loaded. This crazy force field could completely jam any magic flow, just waiting for Joshua to give the green light. Seeing the kid practically shaking in his boots, Joshua asked if Julian was scaring him, which honestly made zero sense. I mean, they had 2 demon-slaying elite knights and 6 hardcore mercenaries from the Kryart clan chilling inside, plus a top-tier wizard and an anti-magic zone. Total overkill for taking out just one guy. Drenched in sweat, the kid stammered that this guy was different. He swore even all this prep wouldn't be enough for a beast like Julian. Joshua asked what gave him that vibe, and the kid admitted the whole mansion was giving off seriously creepy energy. Plus, it was super late, yet they hadn't bumped into a single soul since sneaking in. He figured Julian already knew they were crashing and came totally prepped. The silver-haired teen leaped off the couch and clocked the terrified kid right in the jaw, screaming at him for being totally clueless. Furious, he snapped, asking how the wimp even dared call himself a Kryart family knight. Shaking like a leaf, the dude stuttered out a sorry. Joshua told him to chill. He didn't have to fight Julian, just flip the barrier switch on cue. Totally grossed out by the crying, the guy smirked, saying a working barrier would completely lock down Julian's aura anyway. Flashing an evil grin, he bragged that with the horn's power in his hands, Julian would get absolutely wrecked. Right then, 2 guards rushed in saying company just showed up. Joshua immediately barked at everyone to get in formation. Outside, a shady figure popped up from the bushes. A crew of hooded guys were lurking, whispering that Julian was probably knocked out. William Highlands from the Dawn Society flexed about how hyped he was to finally take out their main target. Meanwhile, his crew, totally salty, kept whining about how William speedran his way to bishop status while completely trashing the society's oldest rules. The whole Dawn Society squad hated Julian's guts, totally hyped and betting everything that tonight would be his final curtain call. Produce. William was out for blood to avenge the Highlands family. One dude saw him literally trembling and asked if he was getting cold feet. Pulling it together, he admitted the hype just got to his head for a sec. Whipping out his wand, he hyped the crew up to breach the place, casually dropping a spell right in front of everyone. He popped a massive stealth bubble around the squad, completely blocking Julian from sensing or hearing them sneak in. Word was, all the staff bailed before sundown, meaning the massive pad was supposedly a ghost town. Creeping down the halls, William sparked his wand for some light But things instantly started feeling totally off. Another guy freaked out, asking what gave. The local mana felt super messed up, like someone completely hacked the whole area's vibe. Meanwhile, one of Joshua's boys sent out an alert. Julian definitely didn't show up to the party solo. A massive crew was rolling into the mansion, and these weren't basic maids, they were top-tier magic casters. That intel made Joshua panic that Julian cracked his scheme. William totally agreed, struggling to cast anything decent thanks to that messed up mana jammer. Both trespassers had the exact same realization, hitting them at once. Julian had totally baited them into a trap. Freaking out, one of Joshua's knights asked what their next move was, but the hot-headed teen was hyper-focused on absolutely schooling that coward once and for all. Flashing a cocky smirk, Joshua brushed off the trap completely. One way or another, Julian was catching a body today. He figured the barrier would nerf their target anyway. The only plot twist? His squad now had to trash Julian's backup hanging right outside the hallway. The rest of the squad clenched their weapons, totally ready to swing. Joshua stepped up right in front of his crew, absolutely pumped for a brawl. The kid violently kicked the door wide, exposing the rival crashers. They looked tough, but he instantly roasted them, screaming they were idiots for backing that trash. William fired right back, claiming that logic totally worked both ways, dragging those kids for being absolute embarrassments. A knight tipped Joshua off that the mage was actually casting through the jammer, proving he was at least a third-tier heavyweight. But the white-haired teen scoffed that he was just a trapped wizard and rushed his enemies. The swordsmen instantly started clashing blades. Mid-brawl, Joshua realized Julian ghosting them felt super sketchy. Out of nowhere, a crazy shriek ripped through the air, flashing with intense blue lightning. The teen peeked out the window to catch the drama and spotted a dude absolutely roasted, completely knocked out cold. Super annoyed, he realized that even with the lockdown active, someone still dropped massive damage while that wimp just stood there. This mess was totally gonna get him fired. William clenched his wand, absolutely shook by the crazy damage. Plus, the magic jammer was making every single movement feel heavy. Joshua watched the caster closely, realizing the guy was literally running on fumes but still throwing down. He stressed about pulling out his trump card early, knowing he had to save it for Julian instead of these random extras. Hunting for a blind spot, the silver-haired teen stared down his target. Catching a split-second opening, he snatched up a potted plant and chucked it straight at the wizard for a quick distraction. The ceramic planter hurtles straight at a completely paralyzed William. Joshua dashes in right before impact, closing the gap way too fast. The panicked magic user tries charging an attack, but totally whiffs the timing. Flashing a cocky smirk, the blade wielder just swipes the staff right out of his grip. Riding that momentum, he punts William across the room. The bruised guy crashes hard into the drywall, groaning from the brutal impact. Suddenly, the helpless spellcaster has cold steel right at his throat. Joshua smugly reminds him that low-tier wizards are basically useless stuck inside these wards. With pure venom in his stare, he demands to know why a nobody is ruining his plans. He starts guessing how much cash Julian paid him off with, leaving William completely baffled. Skipping the explanation, the teen brutally shoves his target down onto the floor again. In sheer panic, the wizard clutches the dude's shoe, screaming that Julian never paid him a dime. Joshua calls Cap, but the guy swears he's actually here to jump Julian too. Hearing that massive plot twist, the kid just freezes up, totally buffering. A second later, he shrugs it off, true or not. The guy blocked his path, and now has to pay the ultimate price. Sweating bullets, William knows he's absolute toast if a miracle doesn't happen right now. The deadly steel is literally millimeters from his heart. Then, out of nowhere, the fatal strike gets blocked. Looks like this crazy evening has more uninvited crashers. Catching sight of the newcomer, the teen completely loses his mind. Julian just casually strolls up, having sneaked in completely undetected. Freaking out, Joshua immediately jumps back into a defensive guard. Our main guy just squats to inspect the shattered remains of the ceramic planter that just got chucked at William. White-knuckling his hilt, Joshua fights back his rising panic, hyping himself up that the magical ward gives him an edge against Julian. Sifting the spilled potting dirt through his fingers, Julian mutters about how absolutely devastated he is right now because he seriously loved that little green buddy. The silver-haired trespasser just stares, totally flabbergasted by this weird reaction. The magical trap is at 100% power, yet Julian's terrifying energy hasn't dropped at all. Our hero bluntly announces this punk needs a serious beatdown. Flashback to a bit ago, Julian rolled up to his estate and immediately felt super weird vibes. The exterior seemed totally chill, but the magical energy was completely chaotic. Right away, His brain jumped to one conclusion: that sneak attack Lazarus had warned him about. It tracked everyone pretty much hated the shady, fox-faced antagonist, so some vigilantes were bound to try something stupid. But honestly, Julian wasn't a total scrub anymore. He'd totally leveled up his skills and finally mastered that lunar blade technique. Cutting back to right now, our guy strolled down his hallways. The crib was absolutely trashed with bodies everywhere, a massive dead giveaway that a crazy brawl had gone down while he was out. Out of nowhere, something specific totally grabbed his attention. Some completely smashed artwork scattered across the tiles. These gatecrashers literally wrecked the whole place. The original Julian would have thrown a massive tantrum, but our boy couldn't care less. Ruined decor just didn't hit him in the feels, but mid-thought, he spotted those tragic broken clay pieces. They belonged to his absolute favorite houseplant, his loyal leafy bestie. Catching Angelica totally demolished like that? Yeah, that triggered some serious rage. He dropped to one knee, taking in the tragic mess. Angelica was literally his very first botanical project since waking up in this villain's body. Clenching his jaw, pure adrenaline flooded his veins as he swore right then and there to get brutal revenge for his leafy friend. To properly avenge Angelica, he promised to zero out every single intruder. Gripping his lunar blade tight, he snapped out of it for a second. Freaking out this hard over some leaves was honestly kind of unhinged. Maybe taking over this villain's brain was actually messing with his own head. He forced himself to chill, refusing to crash out over something so petty. But then all those sweet flashbacks of hydrating his precious Angelica just hit him. He gave that girl water literally every morning without fail. He'd constantly shift her into the best sunshine, gently polish her little leaves at night, and hook her up with premium fertilizer. That was his baby. Picturing some random jerk completely disrespecting her just sent his anger completely off the charts. These home invaders seriously had it coming. Dripping with sarcasm, Julian asked what their backup strat was, considering their sneaky little midnight raid completely flopped. Shutting his eyes, he quickly started doing the mental math. Bagging Joshua would be a cakewalk, but that spellcaster was the wild card. He had literally zero clue about the guy's magical specs. Plus, if those two decided to jump him together, things might get incredibly spicy. So, he decided to completely trash talk them. He straight up told them that even a 2-on-1 wouldn't be enough to take him down. He made it crystal clear: nobody crosses him, and walks away unharmed. But, pretending to be generous, he offered them a sick little game, a brutal free-for-all between the two. While the intruders stood there completely clueless, Julian casually dropped the bombshell: the last guy standing gets to walk. Joshua wasn't buying it, figuring this psycho just wanted a front-row seat to their suffering. To Julian, these home invaders were nothing but pathetic little bugs anyway. Maybe, if he took out the magic user and used that special horn, the spiky-haired dude could actually survive. But William was already shaking like crazy before suddenly lunging right at Joshua out of nowhere. Joshua desperately yelled for them to team up against the real boss, but the terrified guy totally thought it was a setup. Desperate to live, William went on the offensive, completely shutting out the fact that Julian was playing them both. As magic sparked up, Joshua dodged out of the way, sprinting down the hall to set up a sick countermove. A brutal slash tore right through William's chest, taking him out instantly. The dude collapsed onto the floor, like a ragdoll. Catching his breath, Joshua stared down at the wrecked body, except now he had to face the final boss. Julian, the grinning psychopath, who permanently erases anyone who gives him attitude. With blood dripping down his face, reality hit him hard. He was probably about to get wiped out. Staring down this monster was basically a death sentence. Clutching his blade, the kid desperately scanned for an exit strategy. Then it clicked: the magic horn Alphas tossed him earlier. Supposedly, that crazy artifact could unlock literal demonic energy. If he just blew it, he could maybe take this psycho down, or at least bounce out of there. But when he patted his pocket, he felt a huge rip. The demon item was totally missing. Glancing over, he caught the bleeding dude, dragging himself across the floor, clutching it tight. The broken spellcaster whispered about having zero options, ready to pull the wildest stunt just to stay breathing. Apologizing to heaven, William blew into the artifact. Instantly, his whole body warped as a wicked spike ripped right through his skull. Joshua just froze there, absolutely speechless. Meanwhile, he was internally roasting Alphas for setting him up like this. That dude promised a power boost, not a full-blown monstrous mutation. Watching with his arms folded, Julian casually asked who owned the artifact, and the kid quickly snitched, dropping the knight's name. He already figured Alphas belonged to that annoying Dawn Society crew who absolutely despised his guts. Lucky for them, the artifact William activated looked like a total cheap knockoff. The mutation screamed of that exact same slum creature he wrecked earlier, totally tracking with Eleanor's warnings about nasty side effects. It was way weaker than actual shadow energy. While Julian was deep in thought, the newly formed beast shrieked insanely loud. Joshua blocked his eyes, terrified of the next move. In pure panic, the spiky-haired kid started screaming for Julian's attention, begging the anti-hero to take out the trash for him, dropping the whole Kryart excuse, like it was somehow Julian's job to save him. The corrupted creature stamped its massive leg, launching itself straight at Joshua. Going totally berserk, it dove at the teen, swinging its razor-sharp claws. Chilling on the sidelines, Julian casually pointed out that the kid was totally about to get shredded. Playing the pity card hard, the swordsman started crying, literally begging his new big bro to save his life. That wild mood swing definitely caught Julian off guard. Meanwhile, the monster was closing the gap fast, but shockingly, it zoomed right past the terrified kid. Julian quickly realized the beast locked onto his own crazy, murderous vibes instead. Following pure instinct, the anti-hero was absolutely ready to pack this thing right back to the underworld. It was honestly hilarious how much he utterly despised these creatures, yet constantly flexed their abilities. As the beast rushed in, Julian just tightened his grip on his blade. Laughing right in its face, he wasn't stressed at all. To him, this was just an annoying bug getting way too close. Before it even landed a hit, the mutated freak screeched and instantly face-planted hard onto the floor. A lightning-fast slash had totally wrecked its shoulder. Zero regrets showing. Julian just stood there watching it squirm in pure agony. He quickly spotted the beast, actively healing its wound. Since mutation supercharges your inner desires, the dude's insane desperation to stay alive literally leveled up into crazy fast regeneration. Spectating the chaos, Joshua wondered how the heck this guy was actually gonna finish off that freak. A smirk crept onto Julian's face. Turns out, he was actually enjoying this crazy showdown way more than he expected. This guy used to sling wild spells as a human, but now, he was just a monster, totally relying on basic healing tricks. Stroking his chin, our guy found the whole setup super fascinating. With his crazy sensory abilities active, he easily figured out the cheat code. Ignore the insane recovery speeds, and just smash the central weak point, scanning for that fatal target. His expert gaze locked onto a super weird detail right on the beast's skull. Bingo. He figured it out in a heartbeat that was the bullseye. The dude was basically asking for a death sentence. Still, the ex-wizard wasn't quitting yet. Stretching out his back, he braced for impact, while his flesh knitted back together. The creature watched his every single twitch like a hawk. Julian casually asked if they were resuming round 2. A massive screech confirmed the monster was totally down. Hyped up, he dared the freak to bring its absolute best game. His glowing blade lit up the whole area beautifully. Zero hesitation. The corrupted magic user launched himself straight ahead, throwing his entire twisted weight into the rush. Tracking the incoming beast, our swordsman levels his blade and rips a blindingly fast sideways slash, casually vaporizing its entire left limb. That wild swing hit so hard that dark sludge sprayed right across his cheek, though he totally brushed off the gross mess. Refusing to stay down, the freak kept pushing, making the teen block with his sword's flat edge. Dropping his voice into an edgy growl, he mocked the creature for daring to test a pro slayer. Out of nowhere, flipping his weapon straight up, he completely flips the script. Catching the beast mid-lunge, he shreds its remaining limb into confetti, catching another nasty splash of gore. Dropping back into a fighting pose, he readies the ultimate finisher, locking his sights dead onto that skull-bound crystal. The second a gap shows up, our guy blasts forward and leaps high, using the monster's ribcage as a literal stepping stone. Winding up his strike with a savage grin, he goes in for the kill. One last devastating thrust, punches straight through the target, bursting the crystal into a million sparkling pieces. The massive corpse tips backward, while our hero flips off gracefully. The glowing eyes go dead, and the healing hacks completely shut down. The former wizard's features are basically totally ruined around the massive sword wound. The beast finally hits the dirt for good. Looking over his handiwork, the teen wipes off his palms and dusts down his outfit, acting super hyped about the win as he yanks his weapon free from the dead skull. He dramatically screams his infamous monster-slaying title to the world. Deep down, though, he's cringing so hard at playing this edgy role. An audience of one caught the whole showdown and is totally stunned. Joshua is literally shivering out of his mind over there. Strolling casually down the corridor like an absolute boss in an unruined outfit, he closes in on the shaking guy crashed on the floor. Rubbing his jaw, our hero easily reads the sheer panic in the kid's vibe. Sneaking onto private turf after dark definitely warranted a beatdown, But this particular teen was a massive VIP for his noble household. Making an ally out of him right now sounded like a galaxy brain move. Getting low, he grabs the kid's shoulder and drops a super creepy good job for simply surviving the night's chaos, while keeping up that terrifying alpha energy. Our guy later chilled by himself, deep in thought about that fake monster horn. He never expected to stumble onto a counterfeit piece here, especially right after scoring one down in the sketchy back alleys. According to the canon plot, these knockoffs weren't supposed to ruin lives until that creepy cult grew their empire-wide control. Drumming his fingers on the desk rock, he realized the timeline was speeding up way too fast. Usually, this nightmare wouldn't drop until after the main girl grabbed her high school diploma. Why? Because the genius crafting these fakes was incredibly tight with the exact target she was hunting for payback. Connecting the dots, he figured the shadow boss pumping out these items was absolutely the legendary Dark Warrior, that masked vigilante ghost the government, dropping absolutely broken stats to crush the cult operations in total secret. The guy pulling the strings is actually the Golden Boy hero himself, Hayden Reich. If that Shadow Warrior was already active, these fakes shouldn't be here yet without some major internet rumors. This dead silence gave him serious bad vibes. Maybe the main villain's lackey hadn't debuted? The masked hero only goes viral after blocking that creep from stealing the spirit rocks. Since both of them wanted to cancel the Dark Lord's comeback tour and trash the cult, this edgy vigilante was practically a teammate. Still, our lead absolutely refused to buy that this overpowered hero was just sitting backstage watching the world burn. It wasn't even about buying the wild tale. He just backed Hayden 100%. Dude literally had major main character energy anyway. He really needed to lock in on his top priority right now, being an awesome role model.